Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 186 of those. So 100, yeah, 186. Jeez, hot start. It's Ryan's beam that's distracting me. Ryan has a
I
beam
might
of
be
light.
dying. I don't know what's going on.
Are you being summoned to heaven?
Maybe.
It
Just
is
you start hearing
Wednesday,
angels sing on high. Just something might be going wrong here.
like Celine Dion, and I don't know how you heard if she. Jeez, now I fucked myself all
Are
up.
you dying?
I don't know. I don't know if you heard how she harmonized Heinen's last name and said hi no like
I
before
did
the
not.
game, when before the Bruins got shellacked by the Rangers. It is Wednesday. It is March 27th at 7:01 p.m. And we're back. We're back with a really hot start. Yeah, Matt said in the chat that God's watching over you. So yeah, I don't know. Matt
It
knows
really looks
best.
like it. It's weird though. I just noticed if I put my thumb like slightly over my camera, it goes away. I don't know what's going on. So, any tech wizards or tech nerds in the chat that know what the hell is going on, or maybe I am just dying or being summoned to the heavens. Either way, we'll deal with it. We'll adapt and overcome like usual.
Yeah. Well, Ryan, how are you ahead of your favorite episode, perhaps of the year?
I'm doing well. Baseball's right around the corner, as you alluded to. Less than 24 hours to go before opening day. I know probably the Red Sox fans and us are not too excited about opening day because it's probably going to be a pretty long season, unless they maybe shock the world. But I don't think that's going to be the case. But the baseball fan of me is excited to have baseball back tomorrow. Was a little upset, thought I was going to maybe miss opening day being at work, but the Red Sox are on at 10 tomorrow night, so hopefully I can stay up for that. And maybe, like I said, they'll catch some people by surprise and be able to knock off the Mariners on opening night.
Yeah, that would be lovely. Mariners, interesting team to watch this year, one of many.
For
I'll see
sure.
if they can get over the hump. Where shall we start, Ryan? Where shall we start?
Do we want to? I have the outline set up with hockey first. I don't know if you wanted to knock that out just because I know baseball is obviously going to take up the majority of the
No, no,
segment. So,
we gotta do baseball first.
all right, we'll start with baseball then. That works. The question
Let's
is,
get it
do we
going.
want to start with? I mean, there's not much to really talk about when it comes. I know the Red Sox, for people that may have missed it, they announced their 25-man roster today. Some surprises. In case you missed it, 13 pitchers. We know the starting rotation, of course, is going to be Brian Bayo, Nick Pivetta, Cutter Crawford, Garrett Whitlock, and Tanner Houck. The bullpen will consist of Kenley Jansen, Chris Martin, Josh Winchkowski. Who interesting tidbit on him today? I shared this with you. Don't know if people saw it. And maybe just to get some thoughts on this whole thing. And again, it fills in with how the Red Sox have operated this offseason. Apparently, this was from Tyler Milliken earlier today on Twitter. Josh Winchkowski is dealing with, I believe it was a bone chip in his ankle. So that is something that will have to be monitored throughout the 2024 season, as Tyler Milliken said. But that reminded me, and again, I think showed just how stupid the Red Sox might be operating these days, that the plan for Josh Winchkowski was to start him as a starting pitcher this season or try to make him into a starting pitcher. Again, I know that's what he was acquired for when the Red Sox got him from the Royals, I believe, in the Benintendi trade. But like I texted you, guy with an ankle, chip in his ankle or an injury to his ankle. Don't know if making him into a starting pitcher and having him, work more stressful maybe situations or just have more wear and tear on that injury with, obviously pitching more as a starting pitcher every fifth day, maybe going 5 or 6 innings depending on how he works instead of being in the bullpen. Kind of a dumb decision. Red Sox, I feel like, probably knew about this injury. I know the tweet that Milliken put out said that, that Winchkowski caught it a little too late to get surgery and then obviously be ready for the season. So he'll have to deal with that. Have a brace, I think was the tweet that went out today. Do you have any thoughts on that, though? Because like I said, you and I just kind of texted off air earlier today about this situation. And again, like I said, kind of a dumb one at the Red Sox. The plan was to make him a starting pitcher, maybe knowing that he had this injury. And I don't know why he would risk that wear and tear on this guy.
Yeah, it's really that simple. I don't know why you would risk that. I don't really have much else to add. It's just classic Red Sox. If we're gonna be dealing with pitchers getting hurt and losing Giolito for the year, losing Chris Murphy, and now this whole thing with Winchkowski, we're in for an eventful year.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a good way to put it. Just to round out the rest of the roster for the bullpen guys, Isaiah Campbell, Justin Slayton, who was the Rule 5 pick, I believe they got in the trade with the Mets. Greg Weissert was the surprise addition, as was Joey Rodriguez, and Chase Anderson was signed the other day. I believe from the Reds, he was in their spring training, working with them. I know it was formerly of the Brewers, either last year or a couple years ago. To me, he just screams bargain bin. Typical Red Sox move this day and age. Just get a guy that can potentially eat innings in your bullpen, not going to cost a lot. And if you have to cut bait with him, cut bait because he's not that good anymore, and he really never was. But like I said, the interesting thing, the two guys I named before Anderson, Weissert and Rodriguez. Joey Rodriguez, of course, was released at the start of the offseason, brought back on a minor league deal with an invite to spring training, and apparently beat out one of the few bright spots from last year's team. This one kind of caught a lot of people's eyes. Brennan Bernardino was the guy optioned to Worcester. Now, some people on Twitter I saw said that, he is the guy with the options out of some of these names, so that's the why he kind of bites the bullet there. I don't care. Like, that type of thing is stupid to me. This guy helped you win games last year, and again, it just clearly shows that the Red Sox are not serious about winning games. I don't know why you would want him, in your bullpen to start the year. Just solely off the fact to reward the guy. Like, again, he was one of your few bright spots last year. You used him as a starter at some point, and it worked out fairly decently in the couple games he opened up. And again, was one of the bright spots of last season. To put this guy in the minors, it's kind of the same thing we talked about with Winkowski last week, talking about like would he want to start as a starter, put him in the bullpen. What was the decision there? A guy that had success last year, I don't think should be going back to Worcester here. I'm sure Bernardino will be back up at some point pretty soon. I know this might be just kind of a matchup thing I saw some people say with the Mariners, but still, again, like you should reward the guy, have him be on the opening day roster, to option him to Worcester just for some of these other guys, especially Joey Rodriguez. Like, he was decent in spring training, but that's a guy that, you shouldn't be having beat out a guy like Bernardino. And I can't imagine there were going to be a lot of teams chomping at the bit if you had to put Rodriguez on waivers to, option him back down.
Yeah, the management of like insignificant players is kind of weird with this team sometimes, and Bernardino was a surprise to, I feel like, everybody. I guess, yeah, like the option had to have something to do with it. Like, it sucks. Like, it's just a guy that should be on the roster. Like, it's that simple.
Yeah, he was one of your feel good. Like, he kind of followed the same suit as Pablo Reyes last year. Like, not a guy that was cast off by any means, but a guy that was like one of the few wins for Chaim Bloom. Like, you found this guy, and it ended up working out well for you. And like I said, to have him, kind of rot in the minors to start the year is just a waste of a player, again, that could help you. But then again, on the flip side of it, it kind of alludes to that maybe the Red Sox aren't all that serious about, getting wins. What we talked about when they were the Kenley Jansen trade rumors, the Chris Martin trade rumors. Like, those are guys that can help you win games late. You get rid of them. What do you have? It just leads to more losses. So not a surprise in the end, like you said, when you talk about just how they manage some of these more insignificant guys. Maybe it's a thing they want to give guys like Weissert to look. I know Slayton, if they did option him, he'd have to be sent back to the Mets. So he was kind of handcuffed in that sense. And he was good in spring training. So I'm not going to, dump on that guy too much. Chase Anderson, like, that one's a joke to me.
Yeah, like you got to keep, you can't keep Bernardino over the guy you like just brought in a week ago.
Yeah, exactly. Who, when I looked up his stats, I think his ERA, again, not spring training. Like, I know a lot of people don't look into spring training stats all that much, but guy had like a 5.5 ERA this year in spring training. So you're not getting that great of a pitcher. Like, he is just an innings eater. He is just a guy that you're gonna kind of put out lamb to the slaughter type of thing if you're in a blowout game, something like that, just to go out there. So nothing too crazy there.
Gotta have those guys, man. You really do.
Yes, you do, and they're going to come in handy this year because I don't think the Red Sox are going to be in a lot of games. We're going to have a lot of tough nights watching the Red Sox. But just to round out the roster, really no surprises except for maybe one when it comes to position players. Connor Wong, Reese McGuire, two catchers, no surprises there. Around the infield, Rafael Devers and Trevor Story. We'll man the left side of it. It'll be a platoon, as we know, at second base with Pablo Reyes and Manuel Valdez. Tristan Casas is, of course, your starting first baseman. Bobby Dahlbeck, surprise, surprise. He's not written off yet. He ends up making the roster as your big right-handed, quote-unquote, power bat, with Rob Refsnyder hurt. And in the outfield, again, no surprises there. Tyler O'Neill, Jaron Duran, Cedane Rafaela, Masataka Yoshida, who will primarily DH, it would appear, and then Willie Abreu is going to probably platoon either in center field or right field, depending on how they want to, run the matchups. As you alluded to, some of the injuries, Giolito most likely gone for the year. Liam Hendricks will be back at some point. You hope at the, halfway point in the season, maybe the trade deadline, stuff like that. Chris Murphy, I really haven't seen a whole lot on him when his return might be. So that's kind of a stinker because, again, he was one of the bright spots last year that you had kind of come up throughout the system. Vaughn Grissom, we knew for a while, was not going to be ready for opening day, and Rob Refsnyder, nice player, but again, like that one, you're not like, how are they going to get by without Rob Refsnyder? The thing that sucks about him being hurt is it puts Bobby Dahlbeck on the roster, who you and I have talked about numerous times. Just I said it to you. I texted you the other day. It would not surprise me if when the season starts, Bobby Dahlbeck starts the year like 2 for 20 with 550-foot home run that everyone loses their minds over, but also strikes out 14 times and isn't getting anything done. Like I don't know what they see in him at this point. I don't know why he continues to make the roster. Like I know we were excited when CJ Cron got here, thought maybe that's a guy that could spell Bobby Dahlbeck off the roster. He didn't do a whole lot in spring training, so like to see him go, I'm not going to be up in arms over. Um, but again, like we know what Bobby Dahlbeck is. This isn't going to be a year where he comes out and shocks the world and bats like 290 and hits 40 home runs and drives in 100. Like he is going to do that in AAA because he's a AAA player, but he's not going to affect your major league roster in an overly positive way, at least in my opinion. I feel like probably your opinion as well.
No, yeah, it goes right back into Crone, like you mentioned. Like if Crone was here, Dahlbeck probably wouldn't have been, and he was at least brought in. I feel like we said it at the time, like to compete with Bobby Dahlbeck, and didn't do enough. So that's where we're at. At this point, you got to hope Bobby Dahlbeck just regain some semblance of trade value because this guy just doesn't seem like he has a long-term future, regardless. So, yeah, that's really about it.
Yeah.
But where to next?
There really wasn't a whole lot left with the roster stuff. I know I just kind of threw some maybe lineup predictions here. I don't know if that's a big thing. The other thing I was going to ask you too, like any surprises from this roster, you kind of alluded to that. The other thing I didn't really touch on when we talked about Winkowski, because again, there was talk of maybe him starting the year in Worcester and stretching him out as a starter. I'm glad they didn't go that route. And again, I know Cooper Criswell had a good spring training, but what are spring training numbers? I'm glad they didn't can Winkowski for Criswell as another guy just to eat innings and go out there and get his brains bashed in night after night, because the guy's not that good. Again, I don't care what the spring training numbers were. I may be contradicting myself using them in some sense and maybe not in the others. But again, he falls into the same category as Chase Anderson does. Younger option, obviously, than Anderson, who's been around the block a little bit. But Criswell's just another guy to eat innings, go out there. If he struggles, he struggles, and it is what it is because you don't have anything else. So I'm glad they're keeping him in Worcester for now. I hope when it comes time to maybe call somebody up again. This goes back to Bernardino. They bring him up instead of again, let's just throw Cooper Criswell out there and see what he's got. But any surprises anywhere else for you? Or are you kind of in the same boat I am? Like we kind of could see this roster coming from a mile away. There really wasn't a whole lot of big moves that surprised you at all.
Yeah, the big one is just signing a bum that got let go by a bad team. I believe the Brewers or the Pirates.
Prototypical Red Sox move. Yeah, I think it was. Like I said, he might have been in Cincinnati's.
I don't know,
spring
somewhere
training.
in the NL.
Yeah.
In that event, not a bad team, but yeah, when you gotta keep that kind of the roster over a guy that proved himself last year, you got to do it. So it's the Red Sox for you. They love.
I would have loved to have known what that conversation was, because obviously you have to tell the guy like he's reporting to Worcester to start the year. So like to bring, I don't know if it was just Core himself had to do with that poor bastard, or it was the coaching staff as a whole. But imagine being that, be like, hey, we know you helped us out a lot last year. You were one of our better bullpen guys that we could rely on. Again, so much so that we were starting you with points because we had nobody else. You're gonna go to Worcester to start the year. You're gonna be back riding on buses, not having the best locker rooms to hang out in, not having the best facilities or, food plans or whatever. So have fun with that. We might call you up at some point. But again, Alex Core here, I'm not making the calls. It's the front office and everything making these decisions. So, yeah, sorry. Like, I'd like to have you here. I know how much you can help me, but they clearly don't seem to feel that way.
No, they don't. They really don't.
Nope. It is what it is, though. I've talked a lot to start the baseball segment, so instead of me running through however long it's going to take with my predictions for everything, how about we start with yours? What do you have for standings shaping out? I know I'm probably throwing a curveball at you here, but no pun intended. But what do you have? The American League, National League, World Series, all that fun stuff shaping out as this season?
Let's start with the AL East. Orioles at the top, 162. That might have been their record last year. Blue Jays 89 and 73, both making the playoffs. The Yankees missing the playoffs at 86 and 76, which is pretty crazy.
What do you think of them, real quick? I don't mean to. I know I'm kind of probably going to jump in here a lot to ask some of these questions.
No, you're
but
good.
The last couple of days, when I was trying to figure this out, I know I have the win totals in here as well. I know FanDuel had them at 90.5 wins. I think DraftKings is the same thing. A lot of the betting sites have had the Yankees at 90 wins. I think it was Fangraphs put out maybe an article yesterday, somebody, one of the like nerd statistic websites,
I think, yeah,
that had the
yeah.
Yankees finishing with like high 70s wins, missing the playoffs. So I feel like
Mhm.
it's like one extreme or the other. Any thoughts on? And I can allude to it when I do my predictions. But I wanted to like get your thoughts, kind of where you're at with the Yankees, because you kind of have them right in the middle of that 90 to 79 number.
Yeah, I wonder, Cole suffered an injury a little while ago. I wonder how Rodon's going to be, hopefully being able to stay healthy for them.
Hmm.
I don't see this team either way, barring like a big injury, if Cole's injury lingers or something else happens, someone big on the team. I have a hard time seeing this team winning less than like 83, 84 games.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's why I have them right around 86. And
Okay.
then the Yankees too, they're not the big bad Yankees as we've seen like at times in the past, but like this is still a team that is going to compete. They're in a better spot than the Red Sox. They're both like
Hmm.
in their own kind of forms of turmoil a little bit. The Yankees much less so. Like
Yep.
in terms of where they want to be versus where they could be. Like they want to be at the top of the division every year. That's just not going to be the case unless the
Hmm.
Orioles really platoon here or plateau here, or the Blue Jays just go off. Um, yeah, I have a hard time seeing the Yankees finishing in the basement, just especially with how, poor the outlook is for the Red Sox. And I do think the Red Sox can be a team that wins early 80 games.
Hmm.
I just don't think it's super likely. But yeah, 86 is right around the sweet spot I think the Yankees end up with for wins.
Okay.
I have the Rays at 82 and 80. I think Glass now going to LA is just crazy. Crazy huge loss for them. McClanahan will have to step up. Forget the other good guy they have in their rotation. Um, I have the Red Sox at the same record as last year, 78 and 84. It's gonna be a different road this year.
Hmm.
Different looking squad, different looking pitching staff for sure. Um, I couldn't get away from like I went like 76, 77, 78. I landed on 78. Like I said, I do think this can be a team that wins low 80s games, but
Okay.
I just don't feel comfortable enough putting them there. And it's a few wins here or there. Like I easily could have if I wanted to. 80,
Hmm.
78 just felt like the sweet spot for the Sox for me.
What are you telling me? If they did maybe a couple more things in free agency, brought in a couple of actual useful pieces, maybe you
Hmm.
give them a couple extra wins here and there. Maybe they go out and
Hmm.
sign Jordan Montgomery for a
Maybe
year or
yeah,
two
maybe
for
maybe a certain
$25 million. Like,
maybe a certain World Series winning left
yeah, might
and
help.
reliever that you could have got for 2 years.
Yeah, might help.
Hmm. Interesting. Uh Crazy how that works. The AL Central, potentially one of the weakest
Which division?
divisions
Yeah.
in baseball, if not the weakest. I have the Twins winning that with 85 wins, less than the Yankees at 86 and the AL East that missed the playoffs. But
Hmm.
if you're at the top of that division, you get in.
Yep.
That's how it works. Sucks to suck, Yankees, I guess. And then you have the Guardians at 78 and 84 in my world, who have the same amount of wins as the fifth place Red Sox.
Yep.
Um,
Hell
the
Central's a dumpster
Tigers,
fire. It's so
yeah,
bad.
I've seen some people, a little higher on the Tigers, like maybe in the 80s, but I couldn't get there. I think they're like a 73 to 75 win team. I have them at
Hmm.
75 and 87. I have the Royals at 63 and 99, and the White Sox at a measly 55 and 107. That is a brutal, brutal team.
They are. I said it the other day. I was looking up rosters, looking at depth charts for to make these when I was going through this last night. If it wasn't for the Oakland Athletics, maybe the Rockies, you could say, because the Rockies, do have a little bit of young talent on that team. That's not saying the White Sox don't. Um, but well, for the sake of the argument, definitely say the Oakland Athletics. If it wasn't for them, the White Sox would have the worst all around roster in baseball. Like, I think I texted this to you when it was announced. They are starting a reliever opening day.
Yeah.
They are pitching a bullpen game. Game one.
Who
I
is that
know
again?
it is. I'm gonna forget. Garrett, I think Crochet, I think is who it is.
Sounds
Who,
right.
to his credit, and maybe some people, if there's White Sox fans listening that want to argue for their team, I do believe he was drafted as a starter. Because I think he kind of profiled as similar to Chris Sale. Obviously, Sale started his career with the White Sox as a reliever. I think the plan maybe for that was the same way to go about it for the White Sox. But again, just the look of starting a reliever on opening day, a guy that has, I can't remember what the stat was. Maybe it was pitched like had 70 appearances, maybe, or some I can't remember what the number was, but all of his appearances in the major leagues has been as a reliever. He has not started, even as an opener, one game in his big league career. So that is the precedence you are setting on opening day if you are the White Sox. Outside of like Luis Robert or Robert, I don't know what he's going by these days because I feel like it changes every offseason. Outside of him, like that is a very thin when it comes to talent baseball team. Like Eloy Jimenez is pretty good, but he's never healthy.
Yeah, he gets hurt all the time.
And then the other point I was going to make too, interesting, you have the Royals as a 6-3 win team because before we jumped on here, I saw that Fox Sports predicted them to win the AL Central. So that shows how bad the AL Central is, where you, and spoiler alert, I have them as a mid 60, maybe low 70 win team.
Yeah, I couldn't even
Fox
get close
Sports,
to
who does
70.
that for a living, has them as the division winner.
Good for them if they hit it. I mean,
Absolutely.
I can't do that for the Kansas City Royals.
No, I mean,
nothing against them.
They had a good
just
offseason, but they brought in some
Yeah.
decent veterans to go along with a fairly young roster. But like, they're still a couple of pieces away here from really contending in that division.
Now, hey, if they get closer to low 70s, I won't be surprised. But
Sure, yep.
63 just felt right. Sometimes you got to go with your gut.
Mhm.
I was also, when I was looking at the White Sox earlier, I noticed Michael Kopech, old friend, a lot of hype, did not have a good year last year, and Yoan Moncada only had like 11 home runs. So I remember when
two more guys that are super injury. Yeah.
Moncada, the hype on Moncada was insane when he was in the Red Sox system.
He was the number one prospect in baseball, I think, at one point.
He was the first young player in a wave like we see every year now of like these guys that'll like throw a ball from shortstop to third base at like 300 miles an hour. And I was like, oh my God.
Yep.
Unbelievable. But yeah, it doesn't, maybe this is the year. Maybe he breaks out. He's still pretty young. So fairly young. I don't want to say pretty young, but the AL West, I have the Houston Astros, to probably the surprise of very few people, winning the division at 92-70, making the playoffs, of course. The Rangers at 89-73, the Mariners squeaking in ahead of the Yankees, both 86-76. I just picked one. It really didn't have any effect on whether it was the Yankees. I'm being dead serious. Like I noticed
was say,
that they
no
were
bias.
both at 86 wins after. I was like, I'll just leave it. Who cares? Like it's whatever.
Yep.
I have the Mariners getting in. I guess looking back at it too, I prefer to see the Mariners as well. I think the Angels are going to be pretty bad. Real shocker with
yeah, I know, right?
With Shohei Ohtani out of the mix, but 66-96 is my prediction for the Angels. Mike Trout will do all he humanly can, and they will be bad again. And the Oakland Athletics are my worst team in baseball at 52-110.
You started the AL West with a surprise to probably no one, the Astros being division champions, and to the surprise of probably no one, the Oakland Athletics, the worst team in baseball. Because again, like that team is just in such turmoil with, at least they do know now where they're going to, call home in a couple of years, obviously with the move to Vegas coming up. But that is just such, we joke about the Red Sox being an unserious team, and like the Oakland Athletics may be up there for the most unserious team in all sports, let alone baseball, with just how much of a poverty team. I don't want to dump on again if there's Oakland A's fans listening, but they probably know the situation as well, and they probably agree with everything we're saying here. Just a team that just does not care in the slightest.
No. And I sent this earlier before the show to you from PFC Commenter. He's betting the run line against the Athletics every game this season. And he said he's going to bet $617.29 per game. So it'll be $100,000 total, and he will be tracking results.
Jesus.
So, yeah, that'll be funny. Him and Big Cat, the PMT guys, will do that. That'll be funny to monitor. On to the NL, another one to the surprise of no one. In my best team in baseball, the 106-56 Atlanta Braves. This team is juiced. They get Adam Duvall back. That's just another guy that can hit home runs. Great pitching staff, well coached, amazing lineup. Like one of the better teams I can remember all around in quite some time. Just a fantastic organization. Looking to win another World Series. The 91-71 Philadelphia Phillies get into the playoffs. The Miami Marlins finished 83-79. New York Mets at 76-86, and the Washington Nationals at 70-92. The Nationals a little competitive this year. I don't know. It just felt right,
They're
maybe
another
not super
team.
competitive, but I don't see them as a 60 team anymore, or even
Yeah,
a high
they're
50.
another team they brought in a couple of veterans. I know Gallo, says who's had some up and down, career or game or years over the last couple of years of his career. Could be a decent bat for them. Eddie Rosario, I saw made their opening their roster. I think he's a solid veteran as well. For them, like I kind of have in my write up of them when we get into my predictions. There at this point, I feel like just waiting for the James Woods and the Dylan Cruzes to arrive. Like they're kind of just in prospect watch at this point. Two
I love
guys that
Cruz.
would probably Cruz, maybe a little bit more of a long shot. But if he progresses through the minors like he has so far, could very well see him at the end of the year. And then just more of a building year for some of their young teams. One thing or two things I will say, which it shocked the hell out of me the other day when I was looking at baseball, futures. Braves and Phillies right now. Win totals, Braves 101 and the Phillies are 89.5 right now. Those are two numbers that stand out to me that I would maybe jump on the overs because the Braves obviously didn't really lose a whole lot from their team. 101 or whatever it was last year. I can't remember what the number was. I think it was 101. And the Phillies were an 88 or 89 win team last year, and or maybe more than that. I can't remember. But yeah, two numbers that to me seemed kind of low. So those are still available for people out there that maybe want to jump on some last minute, baseball futures. I'd check out the Braves and the Phillies over unders and win totals.
Excellent. Good stuff. I might have to take a look. The NL Central, I have it being in possession of the Chicago Cubs this year at 87 and 75. Cincinnati Reds just missing out on the playoffs. We got one playoff team from the Central in my mind at 83 and 79. 81 and 81 for the Brewers. Lose Corbin Burns, but I don't think their fall off is going to be super tremendous. Obviously, I think they won 91 or 92 last year, but I feel like I've seen some people with lower totals. So I'm going to do 81 and 81. I still think, there's some to be excited about. Obviously, the pitching staff looks a lot different, but you're relying a lot on guys like Chiriot coming in this year, Rhys Hoskins from free agency. Christian Yelich, we know what he's capable of. It just hasn't always been like a sure thing with him. I think this team is just gonna be one of those teams that's playing for something all year. Like people are gonna expect them to underachieve, and I think they're gonna put together a decent season. Quite literally decent at 81 and 81.
Pretty much, yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. That one could age poorly, though. I'm aware of that. St. Louis Cardinals at 75 and 87, and the Pittsburgh Pirates just behind them at 74 and 88.
Yeah, the Cardinals are a weird one for me. So spoiler, I do not have them being very successful in this division either this year. But again, it's tossing people think that they could very much win the division. The NL Central is kind of the same as the AL Central. Funny that the two Central divisions are two of the worst in baseball. I think the NL Central is probably a little bit better, more competitive than the AL Central is going to be this year. But like the Cardinals, man, they're too old. Like they have talent on that roster, don't get me wrong, but they just got too many guys that at this point, especially the rotation. That was kind of the thing that people joked about when they were making all these signings. It's like, all right, they're helping their rotation out, but they're signing a bunch of old guys, like bringing in the Lance Lynn's, like Steven Matz isn't all that good. Sonny Gray, who was their big addition, got hurt. I think it's spring
Kyle
training.
Gibson,
Yeah, Kyle Gibson's like he's okay.
They got a bunch of castaways.
Yeah, they got a bunch of like mid, like you said, the Brewers are the definition of average. Like
didn't Lance Lynn
Cardinals
let up
have
the most amount of home runs in the league last year?
it was either him or Giolito. I think
it was
they
Lance
might have
Lynn,
been one and two, yeah. But yeah, the Cardinals, they might be the definition of mid for me. And again, I know they have talent on that roster, in names, but like I don't know, like Goldschmidt. I keep harping on spring training numbers here, but like Goldschmidt and Arenado did not look good in spring training at all. I think they both had like career lows when it comes to those statistics. Again, those don't mean anything in spring training for the most part. But I don't know, a lot of pressure on the Cardinals. I feel like they should have bounced back, and with some of their aging stars and some injuries that have crept up already, I don't know if it's going to be a successful season for them.
No, I don't think it will be either. I just randomly thought thinking about the Phillies. Kyle Schwarber has 46 and 47 home runs in the last 2 years. I would like to see him hit 50 this year. That would be awesome.
Would not surprise me. I mean, that lineup as a whole is going to mash, so he's going to have definitely plenty of chances to do so.
He's got to pick up some of that Rhys Hoskins slack too.
He does, yep.
It'll be a group effort though. It's still a good team. In Philly, the Dodgers. Some may think they're going to be the best team in the NL. You're wrong. It will be the Braves. The Dodgers will get close though, I think. 104 and 58. easily winning that division. With the runner-up from last year, Padres finishing at 89. No, Padres, Diamondbacks at 89 and 73. I think the Padres, despite getting rid of Soto, are still going to be pretty solid. I have them at 86 and 76. I have the Giants. I'm expecting Blake Snell to like it just gut feeling he has a really good year again, like the Blake Snell of old. Maybe not like Cy Young level, but has a pretty good year there. I think that's a boost late in spring training for them. That's going to be a really competitive division at the top, and then you have the lowly Colorado Rockies at 57 and 105 in my estimation. At the bottom, in the basement in this scenario by 27 wins.
They are the Oakland Athletics of the National League. Again, there is a
They
little bit of
really
hope with
are.
that team because there are some young players. I know Ezekiel Tovar was just extended to a pretty big contract the other
Is
day. So
Kumar
that's
Rocker with them?
is Kumar Rocker with them?
Yeah, or is he with the who's Kumar Rocker with?
He was with I was going to ask you. He was with the Rangers. I didn't know if they moved on from him or not. But
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I don't know why my mind went to Rockies. Disregard.
All right.
Maybe
Rockies,
just like
Rangers
maybe I
are
had seen him in like some mock drafts in my back
maybe.
in the day, and my mind connected them. I don't know where that came from, but disregard.
Mm-hmm.
That is my NL West. Those are my standings predictions. I'm gonna go with the chalkier pick for AL MVP, Julio Rodriguez. I like Jordan as a sleeper this year. Kind of a sleeper. I wonder how his defense will factor into his case.
Mm-hmm.
But the guy mashes. I think he has a chance to have the most home runs in the league this year. Bold prediction. I
I don't
love
hate that
watching him.
prediction at all.
Corbin Burns, AL Cy Young. I think he fits in there like a glove. I mean, that's just like a fun culture to be a part of now. He's on a team that isn't a fringe team anymore, a team that's on the rise. I think he rises to the occasion and wins the Cy Young in his first year as an O. And I like Tarek Skubal as a sleeper this year from the Tigers. He's going to have to win a lot of big games for them to be even relevant. Because like you said, some people are high on them. They're still the Tigers to me until they prove they're not. They've been, stuck in
Exactly.
this
Yeah.
this state for a while. So I'm going chalk with the AL Rookie of the Year again. I like Wyatt Langford this year. I also like Colton Cowser as a sleeper in Baltimore. If he, sticks around for the most of the season, maybe he will, maybe he won't. Joe Espada as the Manager of the Year, taking over in Houston, and Alex Scott Service in Seattle as my sleeper. In the NL, I have Ronald Acuna going back to back. I always think of award fatigue when I think of back to backs, but Ronald Acuna, like, you can't deny him if he puts up a semblance of a season like he did last year, which was absolutely spectacular. Can make the case he's the best player in baseball, I think. Corbin Carroll is my sleeper this year. I think after such a phenomenal year last year, essentially bringing the Diamondbacks back to relevancy. I think he's going to run with that. He's fast, he's flashy, he's exciting, he's a good defender. He can really hit. I don't think there's a glaring weakness in his game. I love watching his highlights when I do see them. I can't say I watch any
Diamondbacks
Diamondbacks
highlights,
games, but maybe I will because he's just so fun to watch. Another chalk one, Spencer Strider. I just couldn't bring myself to pick against him off the NL Cy Young, and I like Dylan Cease in his first year as a Padre as a sleeper for the NL Cy Young. I think he could fit in really well. It's part of the reason why I like that team. Yoshinobu Yamamoto for Rookie of the Year. I just don't know how he doesn't win it, besides the fact that, Jackson Chourio exists, but I'm going chalk. I'm going Yamamoto. They'll love it for the storylines if he comes over, goes to the big bad Dodgers, wins that Rookie of the Year. It just feels right.
You're not scared off by his game 1 or game 2 of the year, really, but his first start performance out in Seoul, where he was lit up by the Padres. I'm not either. Okay. The people that were already overreacting about that, like, they came out and said after the game, I think pretty much that he was tipping his pitches, and he himself said, which is maybe a little worrisome, that he basically was like, I'm not used to pitching out of the stretch, which, newsflash, dude, you're probably gonna have to be doing that quite a bit in the major leagues. So that might be a little bit something. Yeah, that was a little one of the one comment where I was like, all right, that one maybe you might have to straighten out. But like if a guy's tipping his pitches, like, that's something you can fix easy. So I'm not gonna again, it's his first start. He's pitching over in Seoul. You got to think there was a ton of Japanese, Korean fans watching. So maybe the pressure's on him a little bit. He'll be fine. There's going to be a grace period. I feel like there always is when you have these superstar caliber players come from overseas. Like, they're going to have a grace period. We saw that with Yoshida last year. with, people wanting him to go back or go to
Mm-hmm.
Worcester after, a rough start to the year. You got to roll with
Yeah,
the punches when you
sick
give
way
these
to
guys.
ruin the guy's confidence.
Exactly. Yeah. You give these guys these big contracts. You got to roll with them, let them, work out the kinks here and there, and he'll be fine. So I'm with you. I'm not worried about Yamamoto at all.
Especially like international guys too. Like you can say that with rookies. Like different rookies have different like demeanors. Some will handle things better than others.
Mm-hmm.
If you're sending an international guy down to the minors so soon, like without giving him a big like sample size, that's a guy coming from a different country, like a different
Absolutely. Yeah.
environment of
Yep.
baseball. I think there's way more potential to shake that confidence in a player
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah, for sure.
NL Manager of the Year, Craig Counsell. I think he's got runway to win the division in his first year with the Cubs. I think this one should be a layup if they win their division, and potentially more. People will love that, even though it's only a regular season reward. But people do kind of add that to their arguments, whether they mean anything or not. So I just figured I'd mention that. And David Bell, I don't know how you couldn't put David Bell in the mix too. With the rise of the Reds, if they can keep this up, I think he has to be in the mix. And there was one guy I was looking at earlier. I forget his name. If I look at the teams,
I was going to ask you if you remember the team who it was. I'll see if I can pull from my baseball nerd brain and see who the hell if I can remember managers.
All right, it's not that important. Yeah, it's not that important. It was some other guy I was considering as a sleeper, but I forget. I saw when I was looking at betting odds, Mark Cotte's manager. Is he in Oakland, I assume, with his old team?
I'm
Mark
trying to.
Cotte?
Yeah, I think he is still in Oakland.
That's just something I noticed. I love playing with the A's back in the MLB 05 games because their roster was so
Back when they
fun.
were good.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, back when they were good. But those are my awards. My playoff predictions won't be as drawn out as Ryan's. But I have Orioles over Astros in the ALCS in 7, Dodgers over Braves. NLCS in 7, pretty chalky, and then the Dodgers over the Orioles.
You took all the boring playoff picks.
Yeah, I took all the boring playoff picks. I go with my gut. I don't really overthink it with baseball. I'm not the baseball guy of the show.
Yep.
I have some level of expertise, but not as much as you. So
Gotcha.
I will give you the floor, sir.
Yeah, so like you, I will start in the AL East, and like you, I have the Baltimore Orioles winning the division as well. 100 wins, 162. Look, you're getting another year, a full year now of Gunnar Henderson, Adley Rutschman, two of the young studs in baseball. As you said, you get Corbin Burnes as a true legitimate number one ace. I know the Orioles had a huge uptick in a lot of their starting pitchers last year. Was one of the reasons why they were so successful in a surprise run to the playoffs and to the division and 100 wins, stuff like that. You add Corbin Burnes, a legitimate bona fide number one. That's only going to help. The loss of, I'm going to draw a blank on their closer now, Felix Bautista, that hurts their bullpen. You replace him with Craig Kimbrell, though, who has been shaky, but it is, a decent option there. So, you add those two guys with, veteran playoff experience. That's only going to help that team. Maybe we see Jackson Holiday come up and give them a little bit of a boost somewhere throughout this season. That seems like pretty much a foregone conclusion that he's going to be up in the majors at some point, maybe make a run at that AL East or AL Rookie of the Year, rather. And then their lineup, too, they really didn't have any losses. Cedric Mullins, I think he should bounce back after a tough year last year. Santander, Mountcastle, Hayes, good veteran options in that lineup. So it's still the Orioles division to win. Like I said, they made two of the bigger moves this offseason to help that team. I'm with you as well. The Blue Jays, I have them as the number 2 team in the division, 91 and 71. I like the addition of Justin Turner. Hate it for the fact that he is now playing against the Red Sox in the division, but he's a good, solid veteran option for that team. If Joey Votto is able to make that roster at some point, I think he'll help them as well as a good veteran presence, because we've seen with the Blue Jays before. Maybe some questions within that locker room. The youth of that team. I know guys are getting older, but you add 2 veteran presences that can only help. The key to them, though, is going to be pitching consistency and pitching health. Gausman, a little banged up. I thought he was dealing with maybe a shoulder injury in spring training, but if he's healthy, if Barrios is consistent, they should be good. And the big thing the Blue Jays will need to be, consistent and perform well in the American League is the bounce back of Alek Manoah, because if you get him going right, that's a pretty decent 3-headed monster in that rotation. To go along with a guy like Chris Bassett, who was pretty good for them last year. And Yusei Kikuchi had his moments as well. So the Blue Jays, they get things going right, could shape up to have a pretty sneaky, solid rotation, maybe, league-wide. With you again, the Yankees, I have them finishing 3rd, 88 and 74. Like we talked about, I kind of went back and forth on them. I do think the Cole injury is going to linger. They were pretty bad with Garrett Cole last year. So without him, what is that pitching staff going to look like? What is that team going to look like? their offense should mash. The offense could very well cover for the loss of Garrett Cole. But again, it comes down to injuries with them. Can Aaron Judge stay healthy throughout the season? I don't think putting a 6'7", 6'8" injury prone guy in center field for the majority of the season is a smart decision, if you ask me. Especially when you have the likes of Alex Verdugo and Trent Grisham on that roster. Those are two guys I think that should be playing center field instead, just to preserve Judge. But if he can keep it up and stay healthy, then you obviously know what you have in him. But Cole's not going to be ready to start the year. LeMahieu's not going to be ready to start the year. That's why, as you sent me today, for the people that missed it, they went out and traded for John Birdie from the Marlins, I believe. So that's a nice little pickup.
Is that the guy that steals like 1,000,000 bases?
Yep, yeah. Super speedy guy, plays like every position. So pretty solid addition to the Yankees. I know it's something that might fly under the radar, but if you're going to be without LeMahieu, who's kind of obviously not the speed threat, but a guy that can move around the infield, Birdie's a solid replacement there. But with the Yankees too, you kind of touched on it, Rodon. Can he bounce back from an injury? Can he be consistent? Same thing with Nestor Cortez. So the injury concerns is the biggest thing with me for the Yankees. They'll compete for the division, but in the end, I think they end up just falling short. The Tampa Bay Rays might be the most interesting team in baseball this season because they don't have really any pitching. All of their big name guys are hurt. He's hurt. He's recovering from Tommy John, I'm pretty sure, some serious injury. So they're not going to have him. Drew Rasmussen's hurt. Jeffrey Springs.
That was the other guy, Rasmussen, that I forgot.
He's hurt. Jeffrey Springs is hurt. Shane Baz is hurt. Taj Bradley's hurt. All big name guys. I know Baz and Bradley are, two of the on the younger side prospects, but two guys that were probably looked at as guys I might have to lean heavily on, and they're not going to have any of them. I know Eflin's back. He was good for them last year. Look, the Rays, they do this every year. Everyone counts them out. They end up winning 95 games, but that luck has to run out at some point, right? Like, this would be the year you have basically no starting rotation. Your offense you're not the greatest. I know, known scumbag Wander Franco, but he was a decent part of that offense last year. They're not going to have him, obviously, and rightfully so. So his production is not going to be there. Again, the lineup should be good. But
I saw on MLB.com he's still on their roster.
Is he really?
Yeah, on MLB.com he's still there.
That's a huge gaffe on somebody's part then at MLB.com or the Rays, whoever's running that.
It's been a while, guys.
That website,
been a while since that story came out.
Yeah, I mean, he again didn't play like the entire second half for them last year, so like you would think you'd have time to get rid of that little snafu on the thing on the website. But yeah, like the Rays are such an enigma. They're so weird. Like, again, every year you count them out. It's like last year they won 99 games as a surprise there. But I have to think this is the year that maybe they come back down to earth a little bit and even things out a bit. And then, as we talked about the Red Sox, I have them with less wins than you do, maybe more so because of I'd like to pad my wallet here a little bit. Took the under for the Red Sox wins. I have them at 75 and 87. The offense could be good. Obviously, we know Devers, Casas, those guys will probably lead the way. But can they withstand a full season? Do they have enough help in that lineup? And then you mentioned it too, the pitching rotation.
You just combine withstand and sustain into withstand.
Did I say withstand?
That sounds like it should be.
Sounds like a word. Yeah.
Withstand. There you go.
Yeah.
Please credit Ryan Merriam-Webster.
Yep. On 7:44 on Wednesday, March 27th. That's when that word was created. So I will take my royalties and head out. But yeah, like the Red Sox, there's too many questions. They didn't do enough. We know that. We talked about it all offseason when we talked about the Red Sox, or when we chose to, because they're not that much. There's not much to talk about with the Red Sox this year. Pitching rotation should be interesting. We'll get into more Red Sox specific predictions a little later on. But there's just too many question marks. I think Bayo will be good at the top of it, but can he withstand a full season? And then again, too many questions. AL Central, as we talked about, it is a garbage division, but somebody's got to win it, and it's going to be the Minnesota Twins, 86 and 76. Twins could have a sneaky very good 1-2 punch in their rotation with Pablo Lopez and Joe Ryan. And then if Royce Lewis, Byron Buxton, they can stay healthy. Obviously we know what Byron Buxton can do when he's healthy. Royce Lewis, what he did last season coming back off of, I think it was a torn Achilles or an ACL. Went on an absolute tear at the end of the season, was great in the playoffs for them. I think he had a very good spring training. Again, I know I keep bringing up spring training stuff, but that's a guy they're going to have to lean heavily on if that team's going to make some noise, and I think they will.
Dude, ever since Dre Greenlaw torn Achilles in the Super Bowl, that is one of my biggest fears. That was so crazy to watch.
It's one of those injuries that, like, you could just, like, getting up from just out of bed, you could take, like, it's a terrifying thing to think of. Unsettling. It really is. Like,
unsettling.
It really is. And now we knock on wood to make sure that doesn't happen to anybody. Thank you. Uh, who was I going to? Oh, the Cleveland Guardians. I have them finishing second as well, 82 and 80. They're another team, kind of like the Yankees, kind of like the Rays, where in the Rays sense, they always seem to find good pitching in their minor league system. So they always, have something to fall back on. But because of that, and because they're like the Yankees, they always seem to have some sort of massive injury or a couple players get hurt. You start last year with Tristan McKenzie, Shane Bieber. I believe, who was the other one? Naylor got hurt, I think, at the end of the year for them as well, or close to the
Didn't
end of
they
the year.
trade
So
Savale or Savali?
yep, he's one of the few pitchers the Rays
yeah.
actually have. But yeah, they traded him because again, they were able to find a couple guys out of the minors that ended up working for him. Bybee or BB, whatever his name was, the kid that finished second rookie of the year. He was, took a huge step and will be looking to do so again this year. But the Guardians, if they can stay healthy, again, this division's so weak, it would not surprise me if they make a run for the top of that division. And again, Jose Ramirez is an absolute stud, should be in the MVP consideration. Like he pretty much is every year. Like you'd like that guy to win one at some point because I feel like he always is like third or fourth in finishing when it comes to MVPs. So that's a guy obviously they'll have to lean on as well. Tigers, I'm with you, 79 and 83, kind of right in that 75, 80 win range. Made some nice moves. They could sneakily have, I think I just made up another word there too, sneakily.
No, that's a word.
That one sounds less of a word than the other one for some reason to me. I don't know why.
We're gonna have conundrums if we keep having these.
Yeah, I think the beam's starting to get to
moments.
me. Like it's still just throwing me off every time I look up, and I feel like I'm in a Kings game right now. And with the light the beam stuff from last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know if you're gonna get that one, so good thing.
Yeah, I got you.
Yep. But yeah, Tigers, they could have a good rotation. I'm with you. Like I like Terry Skubal. If he stays healthy, very well could see him making a case for a Cy Young. Got some decent veteran options in Jack Flaherty and Kenta Maeda. Maeda's maybe more towards the end of his career. Has been dealing with some injuries, but again, two solid options for a pretty young team. Casey Mize, you got to see what you have in him. Former, top prospect. He's got to, flourish at some point. Reese Olson's a guy too, young guy. I think might be a rookie or maybe his second year in the league. If all those guys can figure it out, that could be a pretty solid rotation option. They're building towards something. They got good young talent in Torkelson, Carpenter, Riley Green. Colt Keith should be fun to watch. I think he's going to be manning second base for them. So maybe that's a rookie of the year candidate right there because he, I think, was like high 300 batting average spring training, lit the world on fire. So that's a kid that looks like he's ready to come out and produce right away. I'm with you, Kansas City Royals. I don't know how this team finds a way to win a division if maybe just every other team just collapses. I have them at 66 and 96. Kind of like the Tigers, made some good veteran additions. Michael Walker was a nice signing for their rotation. Hunter Renfroe is a good bat for that lineup. We saw obviously the Red Sox give him a good bullpen piece in John Schreiber. Seth Lugo, will he start? Will he be in the bullpen? I think he's probably going to start for them. But a good, Swiss Army knife there. Again, like the Tigers, good young building blocks. Bobby Witt Jr., again, could very well see that guy mix into the MVP award because of what he is capable of doing. I don't even think he's reached his ceiling yet. He's had two very good seasons. So if those guys kind of come together for the Royals, they can maybe make a run. And as we've talked about, a very, very weak division. And then, like you do as well, or did as well, I have the White Sox in the basement, 54 and 108. I kind of gave my spiel on them. But if people are tuning in late, they're starting a bullpen pitcher, a reliever in the first game of the season. I don't know what kind of tone that sets for your roster and your team, but I can't imagine it's a good one. And like I said to you before, if it wasn't for the Oakland Athletics, I really do think this team might be the worst in baseball. Like they do not have a good roster. They don't really have a rotation. Their lineup outside of Robert and Jimenez, if he stays healthy, is pretty anemic. Like Benintendi is, hit or miss at this point. He's too streaky to be relied on. Just not a good team, and I can't imagine they're going to make a lot of noise in again, a pretty bad division. AL West, no. You are right. AL West, Astros, it's the same thing with the Astros every year. It's their division until I am proven otherwise. They're dealing with some injuries. Justin Verlander is not 100%. I don't know the status of guys like Lance McCullers. So, I don't know if they have him to start the year. But the thing the Astros will probably hang their hat on is what could be one of the most dominant bullpens in the league. Especially when, Brian Abreu comes back off of his 2-game suspension for, I think it was throwing at Adolis Garcia in the playoffs last year and hitting him. I think he was suspended the first 2 games of the year, if I remember correctly. But you mix him in with Josh Hader, who was a big addition for them in the offseason. Ryan Presley, who obviously was their closer last year, now will transition into a setup role most likely. Rafael Montero, Kendall Graveman, that could be a dominant 5-headed, 4-headed monster, depending on how you look at some of those guys. Their offense is still good. Could very well see Jordan Alvarez having a monstrous year. Like you said, um, again, it's still their division until I'm proven otherwise. I flipped it here other than you did. I have the Seattle Mariners finishing second. I think the Mariners sneaky, maybe best all-around team in baseball, or maybe one of the more balanced ones. I know the Braves and Dodgers obviously have a pretty good, pretty stacked rosters. But I like the Mariners pitching. Some of their top guys there, Luis Castillo, who we're going to see on opening night tomorrow, being Red Sox fans, obviously watching the game. He could very well make a case for the Cy Young. I like your Julio Rodriguez pick for MVP. Could very well see him doing that as well, because I think he is one of the most electrifying players in the game. I like Mitch Haniger coming back, gives them a solid bat for the middle of their lineup. Same thing with Jorge Polanco. That's a good option, switch hitting guy. So I think the Mariners could make a lot of noise in this division. Maybe make a push for the division and maybe dethrone the Astros here. But again, it's the Astros until I'm proven otherwise. I can't say that enough. Rangers in third place at 89 and 73. I think there will be just a little bit of a World Series hangover for them. Not a lot of experience on that team coming off a World Series win outside of a guy like Corey Seager, who had been there before, Nathan Eovaldi, as we know here with the Red Sox, winning the World Series. But there's still a lot to like with that team. I like the young trio of Evan Carter, Wyatt Langford, and Josh Young. Those three guys could mash in that lineup as they should. And then too, the Rangers are dealing with a little bit of injury concerns. Max Scherzer's not ready to go. Jacob deGrom won't be back until the midpoint in the season. If he comes back at that point, coming off, I think he was recovering from Tommy John as well. So last year, the Rangers had a couple of guys in the rotation, I know towards the end of the season, but they did have Jordan Montgomery who could mask some of these injuries. It'll really be on Eovaldi and John Gray this year to try to man the gap until Scherzer and deGrom come back. So maybe the Rangers get out of the gate a little slow. Coming off the World Series hangover, dealing with some injuries. But of course, we'll have to wait and see on that. I'm with you. Angels, I think they're going to be horrible. 68-94. It's Mike Trout, and like it was before, Mike Trout and a bunch of cast of characters. Like, their pitching is not that good. Their lineup is not deep at all outside of Trout. Maybe Brandon Drury, who had a good year last year. Outside of that, there's not a lot to like. Like, that's a team that should be packing it up and trying to dump as many pieces as possible at the midway point in the season. Maybe even Mike Trout as we get into, a spoiler for a bold prediction here. And then, like you did as well, I don't know how you can't pick them last. It's the Oakland Athletics, 52 and 110. I don't really know what there is to say about this team, what there is to like. They got a couple of, decent young prospects.
Do they have an opener as well on opening day?
No, I think they're going, it might be Mason Miller, I think is who they're going with, who did start for them, maybe a couple times last year, does profile as a starter. So they are not taking a pay. Maybe that's another reason why the White Sox to be down on them is the Oakland Athletics are actually starting a starter on opening night or opening day. I don't know when they play. And the White Sox are pitching a bullpen game. So it is what it is there. But yeah, I mean, the Oakland Athletics, I don't know. I'd love to be a fan of the A's just to kind of, because obviously listen to sports talk radio. Like, what the hell do they talk about out in Oakland when it comes to their baseball team? Like, I don't know if they have, baseball podcasts or baseball shows, how you would fill hours of talking about that team, because it's got to be tough.
Yeah, it's not great.
No, doom and gloom out in Oakland, and probably soon doom and gloom in Vegas. But at least with Vegas, you'll have more stuff to kind of keep your attention when instead of following that baseball team. But of course, a couple years away, we'll have to wait and see on that. NL East, unless you had any other thoughts or anything maybe you didn't cover when you did your predictions that you wanted to say about any other AL teams before we transition into the National League.
Nope, I'm good.
All right, fair enough. In the NL East,
well, the Lightning
Bruins
just
Bruins just gave up a goal. I just saw that out of the corner of my eye. Not great. I will not be turning the game off though tonight, like I did the Florida game, because I made a mistake of not watching that game apparently after they got scored on with 20 seconds in.
I didn't know Mitchell Chaffee from UMass Amherst was up with the team right now. That's the guy who just scored.
He's just gotta say he's the one that scored. All right,
national champion.
Pretty good. Nice last couple of hours for this kid, or no, not national championship. You said. I was thinking. Never mind. I'm losing it here.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what I was really thinking there, to be honest. I just kind of had a pretty big brain fart.
Hey man, you have one of those for every 10 of mine, so it's okay.
Fair. All right. You might be being generous, but I am the one coming up with words here every other sentence, it seems like. So I don't know how true that statement is. On to the NL East, though. We're going back to baseball here. Trying to wrap it up as quickly as possible when it comes to predictions and stuff like that. The Braves, again, it's their division until I'm proven otherwise. 103-59. I did have them as the best team in baseball, but then I came to my senses. I switched it. I'll get to that a little later. You can probably figure out what team I'm thinking is probably going to be the best in baseball this year. But the Braves, they have one of the best all-around rosters. Acuna, I am a little weary of back-to-back MVPs, but I don't necessarily disagree with him having a very good chance to win it again. They should have guys littered all over the award, sheet, award ballot, whatever you want to call it, with MVP caliber guys and Acuna, Riley, Olsen, maybe Ozzy Albies makes a little bit of a run.
Olsen hit home runs.
He hits tanks. There is not a cheap home run he hits ever.
Awesome swing.
Yep, funky batting stance, smooth swing. Like he is again, he was basically traded out there for like nothing. I think if that was the trade I'm remembering correctly, it was either him or Sean Murphy that they stole from the Athletics.
Probably
again,
both.
I don't know how many times we're gonna. Probably both. You're right. I don't know how many times we're gonna dump on the Athletics tonight. It's tough for them.
Yeah, well, we'll play better, and we won't. Their owner.
Fair enough. Yeah, operate like an actual baseball team, and we won't have to dump on you. But yeah, like Strider too. I think he could very well. He's, spoiler alert, my Cy Young pick as well. You get Max Fried back, could put together a dynamic 1-2 punch with him and Strider. If Chris Morton and Charlie Morton. That didn't sound right as soon as I said it. Charlie Morton and Chris Sale, if they stay healthy, they stay consistent. Again, don't want to read into too much, but Chris Sale had a pretty solid spring training. If he's back healthy, the Braves could have one of the scariest rotations in baseball, and that could obviously help them go quite a long way. Philly, as I said earlier, that the over-under in wins for them is 89. I looked it up while you were doing your predictions. They had 90 wins last year, so I don't know what the sports books are smoking when they think that the Phillies are going to maybe win less than 89 games or not less than 90 games this year. I have been winning 94 and 60.
Nola too.
I don't get why the again 89 is not
actually makes me
low
feel
number,
better
but
about 91 then for me. So,
yeah, absolutely. Like I said, when I saw 89, I'm like, they didn't lose anybody all that important. Like, and they're getting probably a full year of Ranger Suarez, who again, spring training stats, but he was dominant in spring training. I don't think he had like a sub-1 ERA or something ridiculous I saw the other day. You're going to get a full year, hopefully, of Bryce Harper. I know he was hurt most of last year, came back, and obviously was Bryce Harper for them. So, it didn't matter if he played a whole year or not, but you're getting a full year of him for their sake and, his sake. You're hopefully getting a full, consistent year of Trey Turner in his second or third year. I can't remember how many years he's been in Philly now. I think it's only his second. But, you get a full year of him. If he's up to par with what he can be, that lineup could very well make a case right with the Braves, right with the Dodgers for the best lineup in all of baseball as well. Marlins are an interesting team as well. They had a good year last year, surprising people with, I believe, an over 500 record. I flip-flopped on them a little bit because they're kind of in the same boat that the Rays are. They got some injuries to start the year with their pitching, some consistency questions as well. Jazz Chisholm is the big question mark in that lineup. If he can stay healthy, we know what kind of player he is, what he brings to the table, but that's a big if. Jesus Luzardo will have to obviously carry the majority of that rotation while some guys are out. I think it's Yuri Perez might be hurt right now. Edward Cabrera, I don't think is ready to go. Braxton Garrett, another guy that I think that's hurt. So basically their entire rotation is injured. So if they can maybe weather that storm a little bit to start the year, get through that, maybe they'll be able to make some noise. But this division is so top heavy with the two teams and the Braves and Phillies that the Marlins are still a couple moves away, but they are building towards something. The Mets, 79-83. I don't think they're going to be as bad as maybe some people think they're going to be. Their lineup's pretty decent. Pete Alonso, in a contract year, free agent year, he could very well make a run for NL MVP, I think. JD Martinez was a nice get for them to kind of give Alonso some protection in that lineup. But missing Kota Senga is going to hurt that rotation. It's not a good rotation to begin with. He's out to start the year, so that's a big hole missing there. They do get Edwin Diaz back. That'll help their bullpen. They're an okay team. Like, they're not going to light the world on fire. They're not going to be, making a sniff at the playoffs here. But like I said, I don't think they're going to be as doom and gloom as maybe some people think they're going to be. And then, like you said as well, the Nationals, not a bad team anymore by any means. But like I kind of alluded to when you were talking about them, they're basically just in prospect watch at this point, trying to get some of these young guys, the Keibert Ruizes, Josiah Grays, Mackenzie Gores, those guys to continue to blossom into, star players as they should be. And then just kind of waiting on guys like Dylan Cruz and James Wood to kind of see what they bring to the table when they get to the majors. The NL Central, I am going with the Cubs as well, 86-76. The Cubs had a decent offseason. They really only had to bring back one guy in Cody Bellinger, and they did just that. Seiya Suzuki, I think, he had a great season last year. If he can build on that, give them a nice 1-2 punch with their their lineup with Bellinger and him together. And I just think they're, a better, more all around constructed team than some of these teams in the National League Central. I am donning, Mike, as you come back here, I am donning the Cincinnati Reds as my 2024 Arizona Diamondbacks. If people remember back last year, I picked the 2023 Arizona Diamondbacks to be a scrappy, potentially playoff team. I didn't think they were going to obviously make a run to the World Series, but that prediction ended up looking pretty good last year. So I will kind of pat myself on the back for that one, give myself a round of applause. I'm taking the Reds in that. Reds showed a lot last year with some good young talents. Obviously, we saw what Ellie De La Cruz can do when he is at the top of his game. But they're kind of in the same boat as some of these teams that are on the younger side. You're going to have some of these young pitchers step up. The Hunter Greens and Nick Lodolos, Andrew Abbott and Brandon Williamson. At least two of those guys, in my opinion, have to pop and show you something for them to be a true contender in that division. And like I kind of alluded to, Ellie De La Cruz and another guy we saw come up last year and play pretty well, Christian Encarnacion Strand. Those two guys, they can mash the baseball. Could be one of the best, corner infield duos in the league if they get going. And show what they're capable of. So the Reds, I think, will be a fun team to watch throughout the season and maybe, surprise some people, maybe make a run at the NL Central again. One of the weaker divisions in baseball, so it's really anybody's race between a couple of teams. Cardinals, I went back and forth on them. I had them finishing 82 and 80. I kind of gave my spiel on them. Again, when you did your predictions, they're an older team. They're going to have some of these old guys. You're not fade as they did last season. The Goldschmidts, the Arenados. But I'm not high on their pitching, as we talked about. So the Cardinals are not all that of an impressive team to me. And I think they might be in seller mode by the trade deadline, as we'll get to a little bit later. Pirates, kind of the same boat as the Nationals. Like, they're not a bad team anymore. Obviously, we see the Pirates, it seems like every year, kind of come out of the gate hot, lead that division for a little bit, and then fall off towards the end of the season. Probably looking at a similar thing here. But they're kind of, again, just in the mode of getting some of these young guys up to speed. Mitch Keller was good for him last year. Brian Hayes kind of broke onto the scene as one of the, the better third basemen in baseball. Jack Sawinski came out of nowhere and was one of their better outfielders and one of the better players in baseball for really the first couple months of the year. They all should build off of their strong 2023 seasons. Henry Davis will be a fun name to watch to see if he can kind of take over that number one role behind the plate. And flourish into the top prospect that he was a couple years ago. And then hopefully we get a healthy year of O'Neal Cruz, because I don't know if you've been seeing what he has done in spring training this year. Again, I keep alluding to it. But if you get him fully healthy and he can mash like he has been doing, he's going to be a fun guy to watch on that team and maybe, help them make some noise. And then you said maybe you're going to catch some flack for your Brewers pick. I might catch more because I have them finishing last at 74 and 88. I don't like the Brewers at all this year. I don't. Obviously, they had to get rid of Corbin Burns. I think that had kind of run its course there. We had seen that, start to crack last year with, the contract dispute or the arbitration dispute, whatever it was. They don't have Brandon Woodruff to start the year. He's hurt. I think he might be out the entire season, actually. So that's a big blow for their rotation. It's basically Freddie Peralta and a lot of guys. Like, I know Wade Miley's back, but what is Wade Miley at this point in his career? Their offense outside of Christian Yelich, not a lot to like there. They're on the younger side, so they have guys, building up to. You have a comment that you're gonna?
Nah, Draymond Green just got ejected.
Ejected 4 minutes into the. Yeah, I saw that earlier. That shocker.
I don't know what it wasn't official.
I don't know what he did, but couldn't have been good if you get ejected 4 minutes into a basketball game. Like, I don't know. He clotheslined a guy the other night too, so he's back to his old idiotic ways. Not a surprise there by any means. But yeah, I'm not a fan of what the Brewers have done. They're kind of a middling team. And another team that I think should probably be selling off some pieces more so than maybe they want to try to start that rebuild a little bit quicker than maybe they are trying to do so or want to do so. And then real quick,
Self-Relic.
Boston Gets, right? Yep.
PC guy.
Yeah, well, he's going to be have to be one of the guys too that if the Brewers want to make some noise, he's going to have to pop. Garrett Mitchell, I think is Garrett Mitchell, I think is his name. I'm like you, very interested to see what Jackson Chourio can do. I have him as a potential Rookie of the Year pick. I think I did pick him as my Rookie of the Year to spoil that pick as well. But he's going to be fun to watch. If some of these young guys pop, then maybe the Brewers can make a little bit noise. And maybe you and I think they're going to, but I feel like we're kind of in the same boat here. Brewers, middling team, maybe more towards the bottom in my case. But maybe they surprise some people. And then the National League West, like you said, really no surprises here. I think it's going to go pretty much exactly how you had it as well. Dodgers, I think they run away with the division 106 and 56. We know what they did in the offseason. Obviously have some injuries going into this year, but they are plenty deep enough to weather the storm and wait till they get some of these guys back, like the Kershaws, the Buellers, I know Bruce Gratterall was a loss for their bullpen, but he'll be back at some point this year. And again, their offense
Almost a Red Sox, Bruce Gratterall.
almost a Reds. He was a Red Sox for maybe like 2 minutes, and then got cut down
Was that
immediately.
the Mookie trade?
Yeah, it was. That was the first
That was
Mookie
the Mookie
trade where he
trade.
was coming.
Would
It
have
was
been nice.
the 3-team deal with the Twins, right? Yeah,
Would have been nice.
yeah, it would have been. At the time though, I remember we were not high on him because we were like, oh, he's
There were some concerns, but
yeah,
like
some injury concerns. He was
talent
a
was
pretty big fella, but yeah,
flamethrower.
absolutely, and he has proven to be so far in his major league career. So that's another maybe swing and a miss for the Red Sox. So not bringing him in. But
Yeah, I was away from the laptop here for a second to actually put
wondering
the
what you were
game
doing.
on the TV off to the side because Nesson 360 is not having a normal one at the moment.
Shocker.
Yeah.
Another John Henry product.
And
yeah.
TNT is blacked out for no reason.
Oh, that's even better.
I guess it's because of Nesson, maybe. I don't know.
No, maybe.
Why
yeah,
is it even available?
Your
For the
local
ratings,
network, yeah, type of thing.
God
But
damn
yeah,
it.
we know what the Dodgers are. They're going to win that division. Diamondbacks, I have them like you did in second place. Sneaky good offseason again for the Diamondbacks, and they helped it last night by, like I texted you, they lose Eduardo Rodriguez to start the season. He's not going to be ready. So they, unlike the Red Sox, lost a starting pitcher and said, hey, we're going to operate like a normal baseball team. Let's go out and sign Jordan Montgomery for a year and $25 million and give him a vesting option that he's most likely going to hit. For the people that missed it, I think he has to make like 10 starts this year, and that turns into another 25 million for next year. So he's definitely going to hit that.
That's
Corbin
perfect.
Carroll,
Like perfect.
Absolutely, yeah. Diamondbacks, they know how to operate. It's kind of crazy that you're the Boston Red Sox. And I know the Diamondbacks aren't what they used to be, but still, like the Diamondbacks have passed you as a respectable, smart franchise at this point.
I might bet on the Diamondbacks to win the World Series this year.
That'd be a crazy bet. Maybe a good bet. I don't know.
Probably an interesting little ticket. I'll take a look here.
Maybe see what those odds are while I'm finishing up here because I'm kind of curious to see what they are now.
Maybe to win the NL.
All right, maybe win the pennant again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to worry though. For you have a lot of repeat things going on from last year's baseball season.
Ryan,
so
hey now.
right.
Diamondbacks are plus 3,500 to win the
Wow.
World Series on ESPN Bet.
Wow.
And to win the pennant, they are plus 1,600. Ooh.
The pennant bet I might take. The World Series one,
pennant.
I don't know. Not to spoil my
Yeah,
World Series
I don't
pick or
know.
anything, but that one might be a little iffy. But yeah, I mean, they're a good mix of veteran guys, brought in some veteran pieces. Eugenio Suarez and Jock Peterson, two good bats for the middle of their lineup. Corbin Carroll should be dominant again like he was last year. And obviously that lineup features what I think are two of the more underrated players in all of baseball, and Ketel Marte and Christian Walker. Two very good players for that lineup. I think will obviously continue to be very good as well. Bruins just scored, I saw. Was it Heinen again? He's on a bit of a tear of late. So that's good to see. Maybe the Celine Dion thing that you said earlier, maybe that juiced him up. He saw that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
He listened.
That's still one of the weirdest pictures I have ever seen her at a Bruin. Nothing against Celine Dion, but just her popping up at a Bruins game the night was not something I expected to see on the bingo card. That's for sure. But
hey, me neither.
She's a fan. We'll take it. To finish out the baseball, though, I know I have dragged this on for quite some time. Padres,
no, it's fine.
Padres in third place, 84 and 78. I saw some people that were kind of down on the Padres, obviously losing Juan Soto. That is a big loss. But as we saw in Seoul, they should still be able to mash. They should still be able to pitch, like you said, getting a big surprise trade in Dylan Cease to go along with Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove. If those two guys bounce back, that rotation should be plenty good enough to compete in the National League, let alone the NL West. And I still think the lineup should be good. Xander should have a bounce back year, as we know what Xander Bogaerts is capable of. Machado and Tatis, we know what they are. And Jake Cronenworth should bounce back too to go along with Ha-Seong Kim, who put together a very good season last year. He should be able to build off of that, no problem. Giants had a good offseason, but again, this division is so top heavy. I don't know how they are able to compete in it and sneak into the playoffs. I have them at 83 and 79, just missing the playoffs behind the Dodgers, Diamondbacks, and Padres. I have three teams as well making the playoffs from the National West.
Oh my God! Trent Frederick's eye is bloody.
He's leaking. Yeah.
Did it get into his hair, or is that just a?
I don't know. I only
discoloration
looked up
from the angle I'm watching the TV here. Oh boy, people were on him a little bit for not fighting last night. No, he did.
Oh, there you go.
And he scored last night.
He's making up for it tonight.
Yeah, there we go.
What was I gonna say? Giants. I did, like I said, like their offseason. Made a lot of good signings. Snell, Soler, Chapman, Jung-Hoo Lee. I think could absolutely rake in that ballpark. Very good hitter. As we've seen, again, spring training, but He's been very good so far for them. The lineup still has consistency questions. Michael Conforto had an up and down moment last year. Tyro Estrada's, been good here or there. Same thing with Mike Yastrzemski. So there are a little bit of questions with that team, a little more so than teams like the Padres and the Diamondbacks and, of course, the Dodgers. So the Giants, maybe one or two moves away, but if their rotation shapes out like it should, they could be very good. And the Rockies, like I said, the Athletics of the National League. Ezekiel Tovar, extending him was their biggest move of the offseason, and a smart move at that because he's a guy I think that obviously shows they are, maybe starting to build towards something, maybe starting to, bring up some of this young talent they may have in their minors. But it's not enough. I have them finishing last at 56 and 106. Real quick actually, I'll do the playoff ones really quick. So my playoff teams, I didn't say it while I was going through it, but I have in the American League, the 6 teams being the Orioles, Astros, Twins, Mariners, Blue Jays, and Rangers. In the National League, the Dodgers, Braves, Cubs, Phillies, Diamondbacks, and Padres. And of course, we know that even though the Cubs and the Twins have worse records than the other wildcard teams, the Central teams will obviously get the 3 seed automatically for winning the division. I'm not going to run through all the playoff matchups. I'll just do the American League Championship Series and Division Series. In the ALCS, I have maybe a surprise. The Mariners as the 4 seed, going through a couple of upsets, taking on the Orioles, and upsetting the number 1 seeded Orioles in 6. Like I said, I like the Mariners a lot. I think this is their year to make some noise. Baltimore, I still think they need 1 or 2 more veterans to really kind of cement themselves as a dominant, postseason threat. Obviously, these young guys getting playoff experience will help. Corbin Burns should help that team, obviously, as I said a lot. Same thing with Kimbrel, although we do know what Craig Kimbrel is when the playoffs start. It's not something you can rely on all that much. But they're a move or 2 away, like I said, from being a real dominant, watch out for the Orioles because they are here type of thing when it comes to the playoffs. And then the National League, really no surprise here for the NLCS. I have the 2-seeded Braves taking on the 1-seeded Dodgers. With the Braves winning in 6, the Dodgers will do what the Dodgers do. They will dominate the regular season and fall apart in the playoffs like they always do, leading to a maybe surprise to some Mariners-Braves World Series. And I know I kind of joked with you about, making the same picks from last year. I'm doing it again. I'm going with the Braves as my World Series pick. It crushed me last year for them to not win it. Again, mainly because I had money on them to win it. Doing that again as well this year. I'm taking the Braves. I think they too are going to be fueled with, how much of a lackluster finish they had to last year's season, getting knocked out by, I believe it was the Phillies that knocked them out. I can't remember if it was them or the Diamondbacks that pushed out Atlanta. But I'll go with the Braves, best all-around team in baseball. You could argue with the Dodgers. I think they will obviously argue that if they beat them and go on to beat the Mariners in what should be a pretty entertaining World Series with a couple of, young superstars, some wily veterans, should be a good one.
Absolutely.
I did not do my awards. Go ahead and finish your thought, and then I will run through my awards.
It's hard to pick against the Braves. I was actually wondering too if you had any thoughts on the Dodgers giving their catcher $140 million.
I couldn't believe. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. I like Will Smith. He's a top.
I'm more concerned about the Will Smith on this team. These guys.
There's another Will Smith. Oh my God!
How
many Will Smiths are there?
Potential favorite for the Hobie Baker as a freshman.
People need to be more original.
Points, has more points per game on average for U19 player than Jack Eichel did.
Wow.
The best freshman seasons ever.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That is eye-opening to say the least.
That's my favorite Will Smith.
That's your Will Smith. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it was a little strange when I saw it come out. That's a pretty hefty contract to give a catcher. I know he is one of the best in baseball. You could maybe argue top 3. I would argue top 5. I'm not going to, run through my catchers because I'm now trying to think of, catchers that come to mind. Obviously, Adley Rutschman is up there for number 1. Realmuto probably 2, but Will Smith you could put in the case for, a top 3 guy. Was it a straight up contract, or was it like, oh, Will Smith's making this much amount of money, but he's getting it deferred until 2045?
No. But the tweet that reminded me was some guy who put out the fact that he joked that he did like a deferral thing like Ohtani did, same structure, and people believed it. And then he put I don't know, people use different fonts on Twitter sometimes, in a different font that says this is a joke, this is the Ohtani structure. And yeah, that's what reminded me, because I was pretty shocked. It's like, damn, we're giving catchers $140 million.
Yeah, it's insane.
Earlier today. Yep. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good lockup for the Dodgers. I mean, they got a good player in Will Smith, no doubt about that. there was a question I will ask you. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on it because I really don't know the whole details about it, but I just wanted to ask your thoughts on Ohtani. Any thoughts on that situation? Obviously, he spoke on Monday. Obviously, denied having any, you know, relations to betting or anything like that. But again, like for me, the Ohtani situation is like I don't know enough about the situation to have really any strong opinion on it. Like there are some cases where it does look like he is just using the translator as a like a scapegoat type of thing, but like I can't
Yeah, and
imagine
it
Shohei
was
Ohtani would
interesting
be
that
that stupid to do something like that.
no, I believe that he didn't do it, but it is a
Mhm.
little not like weird, but interesting that he had a prepared statement instead of answering questions.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe because of the whole translator snafu, he wanted
Mhm.
to just prepare a statement. That's
Yep.
probably why. But that was something that came to mind when I first
Mhm.
saw it. I don't think he did it.
Yeah, I'm with you. I can't imagine he did. Like he's listening to Jared Carrabis talk about it. He brought up a good point. Like the guy just eats, sleeps, and breathes baseball. It seems like so. Like for him to do something like that would jeopardize his career. Like again, he is
would
such a
be one of the craziest sports stories
yeah,
ever.
absolutely. He's such a mysterious character. Like he keeps to himself. Like obviously, people have brought up the fact that like nobody knew he got married this off season, which was kind of a funny story too. That he just showed up one day like, yeah, I'm married. This is my wife. Um, there was somebody else brought up a point like nobody knows what his dog's name is, or like it was a surprise when people found out what his dog's name was. So he's a
That was
strange guy in
weird. Yeah.
himself. But yeah, I'm with Carabas, and I feel like a lot of people that like the dude is just so invested in baseball that I don't think he would do anything that dumb to jeopardize it. Um, and it if it ends up being a true situation and that his longtime friend and translator was the one that effed him over, like that's such a crappy story. But obviously this is not going to go away. I feel like anytime soon. I feel like it's something. I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't linger throughout the season and maybe derails what could be a good season for Shohei. Um, obviously being the face of baseball and all, but we'll obviously probably talk about it more when more stuff comes out, if more stuff comes out. Hopefully it doesn't. But that's just the situation right now. I know we didn't touch on it a whole lot last show when the reports first
Mhm.
came out. I don't even know if they came out when we were on. It might have came out after the fact, but whatever it was. Again, I'm stalling here. My award picks, really quick to run through them. AL MVP, I'm going with Juan Soto. Pains me to pick a Yankee for an MVP, but Soto's in a contract year. He's in a ballpark that absolutely fits his swing. He should mash in Yankee Stadium.
I did not
Um,
think of that. The wiffle
yep.
ball stadium. Oh,
Mm-hmm. He's a
well,
perfect swing for that stadium. Somebody said it today that his lazy fly balls will probably lug it out of that ballpark. So he
yeah, he
has a
might hit
very,
80.
if I was gonna say, you might have a very good chance for 50. You just completely went outside the
Yeah.
ballpark and went with
80, 100.
fair. There you go. It would suck to see a Yankee do that, but he like I don't know. Like Juan Soto to me is going to be one of those Yankees. It's not going to be a long career. Don't get me wrong, because I think he's gone after 1 year. But he falls into the category of like Jeter, not level wise, but you know what I mean. Like I feel like Yankees that like you're not probably not going to end up hating. Like Juan Soto's a good guy. Like you're not gonna hate him in a Yankee uniform. I feel like. But you know what I mean. My sleeper pick is your MVP pick, Julio Rodriguez. I think if the Mariners are going to make a run to the World Series, Rodriguez is going to have to be a part of that. I think he is primed for. I know he's had two very good seasons so far, but this is going to be the one that he really just absolutely breaks out and leads that team. AL Cy Young, I'm going with your pick, Corbin Burns, for all the same reasons that you said. I do find it interesting. We both picked for our sleepers American League Central pitchers. You obviously went with Scooble. I went with Joe Ryan. Um, because there are wins to be had in that division. There are dominant performances to be had. That division stinks, as we've talked about on numerous occasions. So I think Joe Ryan has a chance to absolutely break out and feast in that division and make a run for a Cy Young candidacy. Rookie of the year, I'm sticking with the same team that you picked, but I'm going with a different player, Evan Carter, because he still technically qualifies as a rookie. We saw what he did last year at the end of the year for the Rangers and in the playoffs. And I just think that's why he's going to maybe edge out Langford a little bit, as he has a little bit more of that experience. So he might not get off to as slow as a start as Langford possibly does. And again, that 1-2 punch of those two young guys is going to be lethal for the Rangers. My sleeper pick, no bias here. I'm going with Ceddanne Rafaela. I'm glad that the Red Sox, after he lit up spring training, decided to put him on the Major League roster, because I think that would have been absolutely stupid as well to have him perform as well as he did. And then send him to Worcester. I think that would have been a waste. So whether he's the starting center fielder, whether if he plays second base, I think he's going to put up some decent stats and be a nice piece in that Red Sox lineup, make a run for Rookie of the Year. And then the same managers of the year as you had, Joe Espada. If he follows up Dusty Baker, the Astros get a division title. I think he's pretty much a lock to win that award. But if the Mariners make some noise, I think Service would be a good candidate as well. I feel like I always have him in the running for manager of the year because I think he's just a solid manager altogether. MVP going with Mookie Betts. I think Mookie, as you know, I'll get into one of my predictions in a second here. I think Mookie's primed for a very, very good season. We saw that to start the year in Seoul. He came out, lit the world on fire first, a couple of games of the year. He's going to have plenty of protection in that Dodgers lineup, plenty of chances to drive and runs. I think he will do just that. My sleeper pick, it's weird having Bryce Harper as a sleeper for MVP. But again, that Phillies lineup is so good. You get a full healthy year, Bryce Harper. We know what he's capable of doing in that lineup for that team. So I think having him as a second candidate is a very, very realistic option. Cy Young, sticking with you, Spencer Strider. I think it's his award to lose. We saw, again, spring training, but we saw how dominant he can be. Added that curveball, which everyone has started to talk about, which has made him an even better pitcher, it seems. So he is going to absolutely feast this season. I have Zach Wheeler as a sleeper for kind of the same reasons. One of the better pitchers in that division. Should get off to a very good start with the Phillies. Rookie of the year going with Jackson Chourio. But my sleeper is Jung Hoo Lee. Like I said, when I did the Giants wrap up, I think he has a chance to hit the ball all over that ballpark. It's a ballpark that I think, with as good as a hitter as he profiles to be, could, put up some very good stats there and make a case for NL Rookie of the Year. And then Manager of the Year, same thing. Going with Craig Counsell for a Cubs team that maybe could surprise some people win the division, but I think you and I are in agreement. They are, at least in our opinions, the favorites to win a division. And if the Reds take off like I think they might, I think David Bell has a very good chance of winning that award or being in the running as well. As, again, my surprise team for 2024 coming off of the Diamondbacks pick from last year.
Love it.
All right.
Love it. No complaints.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I just thought of the Wiffle Ball Stadium aspect for Juan Soto, I guess. But Joe Ryan is not a name I expected to see as a sleeper, something I will say. And yeah, I couldn't really think of anyone else for the Manager of the Year picks besides yours. I'm not going to lie, I kind of copied yours a little bit. I thought of other names. I considered other names, but I
couldn't really think of everybody like National League. Like if the Yankees end up making the playoffs, and people will hang on to they didn't have Garrett Cole to start the year, and then Aaron Boone. No matter how much the Yankees are good or bad, I feel like Aaron Boone always seems to be in contention. Even though I feel like if you ask Yankee fans, they probably would have wanted him fired 2 or 3 years ago. So like Aaron Boone, I could see making a run. Other than that, like the Diamondbacks, maybe Torey Lovullo. Other than that, I don't really know who else you could really like. I'm not all for giving the Manager of the Year to the teams that just run through the league. So like Dave Roberts, if the Dodgers take off, like the roster's good around you. So how much coaching do you really have to do? Same thing. I like Brian Snedeker with the Braves, but again, they're the Braves. So like how much does he really get consideration for it? So go with the underdog guys that maybe you don't think about.
Yeah, and I wonder, the name I was looking at earlier, I wonder if Pat Murphy gets some consideration if the Brewers somehow manage to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be a very good one. Yeah. That would be kind of funny, though, with Craig Counsell getting, shafted. And then, who obviously Craig Counsell's a good manager in his own. So when it happened, I found it very weird that they fired him.
Funny batting stance.
Very funny batting stance, for sure.
That's one of my weird niches. I remember batting stances
guys with funky batting stances, yeah.
Yeah, like even just regular ones, Jorge Cantu with a funny one. That's a name. At least in the video games. I don't remember in real life. But Red Sox specific predictions. I guess I'll go first, like we did with the MLB stuff. 78 and 84, as I said. Playoffs, no, I have negative because you had a funny answer, so I put an outside the box answer. Pitcher of the year, chalk. I think it's just going to be Bayo, looking up to that extension. Establishing himself as the ace. And I think, you're probably picking Devers or Cautious, maybe Bayo here, but I'm going Devers. He voices, uncertainty with the team, things he didn't agree with. I think he comes out with his hair on fire. Or, well, he doesn't really have hair, actually, but you know what I mean.
I gotcha, yeah.
Our sweet boy will go off this year. I think he'll approach 40 home runs. Ceddanne Rafaela, it's hard to pick against him. I like Willie Abreu to have a really solid season as well. And Nick Pivetta, I don't know. Things just haven't really gone super well for Pivetta in the last year and a half. I feel like this is going to be another disappointing year for him. But he has some psycho in him. So we'll see. He could really, relish the fact that, a lot of people are against this team and he needs to step up. No Chris Sale anymore. There are some shoes to fill. So Bold predictions. Rafael Devers matches his career high in home runs. I am just getting short of 40. At 38, I think he goes off this year, but it's just not enough to make the Red Sox super relevant. And I have 32 for Tristan Casas and just shy of 100 ribbies. I think he goes off this year. Whether he wears 36 or 54, looks like he changed it back to 36 already. I don't really know.
It was a one-time thing. I don't know
Maybe
why.
Maybe he'll just trot out tomorrow in a different number. He'll wear a number in like the 80s or something. I don't know.
Just go with something different every
strange
month.
Guy.
Yeah,
Strange guy.
He's
like
quite the
changing
weirdo.
his hair. Loves sitting out in the sun. That's not that weird, but I don't know. There was that whole storyline that some people thought it was weird. He's an interesting guy.
Yeah.
I got 15 home runs for Willie Abreu this year. I have a lot of time for him.
I could see that. Yeah.
I think if he plays enough, this is doable. His batting average was good, so I'm going to say he's hovering around or above that 290 range. I expect a pretty good year to Willie Abreu. I liked what I saw. I think Masataka Yoshida kind of sticks around the same neighborhood. Like, not that I think he's a bad player. I just think this is who he is.
Yeah, he's not going to be a big like basher in their lineup by any means.
Which is fine. Like, he had a good year last year for the most part.
Yep.
My big trade is one that's been rumored, and I think Kenley Jansen reunites with the Dodgers.
I like this pick a lot.
Yeah, I think it makes too much sense. They're adding everyone they can. He had success there. I think the fans will welcome him back. Marcelo Mayer sees 15 or more MLB games this year.
Don't hate that one at all either.
And Isaiah Campbell is a stud in the bullpen. I'm really looking forward to watching Isaiah Campbell. Cool mustache, good player. I saw a lot of Mariners fans when they traded him really surprised, some upset. I got high expectations. I got time for Isaiah Campbell as well.
Yeah, I forgot this is a kind of a revenge tour for him to start the season because I forgot that was like one of the first moves they made this offseason was getting him from Seattle. So nice little homecoming for him right out of the gate.
Yep, those are my bold predictions and Red Sox predictions. In this next section, I'll just get it out of the way too. Two things I'm looking forward to: the progression of many young players in this lineup, including Cedar Rafaela. Nothing really came to mind, I guess, for predictions for him,
it's
but
tough.
I had him in the ballpark for potential AR Rookie of the Year. I'm looking forward to guys like Valdez and Abreu, Cedar, so on and so forth in the lineup. Anyone else that may come up, seeing where they're at, because this team's just not going to be competitive. They didn't do a lot to add to this lineup. You might as well just enjoy who is on the roster. There are some young guys to be excited about, just not enough as a whole to hope for the playoffs in my mind. And Brian Bayo will further establish himself as the ace.
Let's hope. Yeah. My Red Sox predictions, like we said, I have them going 75 and 87, dead last in the American League East. For playoffs, as you said, I had a funny one. I just put because if you think the Red Sox are going to make the playoffs this year, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you are the same level of maybe optimistic, but I'm going to go with the same level of stupid for the people that still thought they were going to sign Jordan Montgomery when he signed with the Diamondbacks the other night. That blew my mind. The people on Twitter were still up in arms. I couldn't tell either, by the way. I don't know if you saw that. I think it was your dad tweeted at me. Like, I put the question in, like, being sarcastic, being like, "Oh no, what happened with the Red Sox, like, not signing him?" And he put like $signs just to say like it was cost. I want to be like, I know, but he did. I'm pretty sure.
This is recently.
Yeah, it was last night.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if he knows that I'm being sarcastic, but I'm not gonna say anything. So
yeah, that type of.
But it was just funny. It's like money. Yeah, I knew it was money. Like, the Red Sox are just such a cheapskate franchise. But it was kind of a little funny interaction there. But yeah, there's no chance to make the playoffs unless just every other team in the American League East just decides to give up on the season. My pitcher of the year, I did not want to go with the obvious one. I was gonna pick Bayo. That's not a knock on you for picking the obvious one. Don't get me wrong. I went with Garrett Whitlock, though, because I think he's going to have, like, someone else in this rotation is going to have to step up outside of Bayo. And as much as I don't like him being in the rotation, I think it's going to be Whitlock. I think he's going to maybe surprise some people if he can stay healthy. Like I said, he's going to have to step up, make that, not that the contract is bad by any means, but obviously we know there are a lot of incentives in it that are starter related, innings pitched, starts made, I think, stuff like that. So if he's going to want to hit those numbers, he's going to have to obviously step his game up. He's reworked a couple of things we saw in training camp and spring training, working on some new pitches, stuff like that. I think, the cutter is something that I saw the other day get tweeted out by, maybe it was Tyler Milliken, talking about, how that pitch has come along this spring. So if Whitlock can step up and step his game up, maybe the Red Sox do make a little bit of noise and surprise some people Maybe, flirt with that 80 win number here or there. Team MVP, same thing. Didn't want to go with Rafael Devers. I think I picked him last year as well. I went with Tristan Casas. I think Casas is primed for a monster breakout season. We saw obviously him really come into his own at the end of last year, or maybe more so the middle of last season to the end of last season. And again, I just wanted to go with maybe somebody other than Rafael Devers. So Casas, I think if he gets going, you maybe have a pretty solid 1-2 punch with him and Devers in that lineup. My breakout player, same as yours, Ceddanne Rafael. I don't know how it couldn't be anybody else, because I think we both have him very high and with a possibility of Rookie of the Year. He just got to be given the opportunity. Like I want to see him play. I don't want to see him get buried on the bench behind some of these guys. I don't think he's going to. But this is a guy, one of the guys, as I'll get to in a little bit with some of my, what to look forward to. You're gonna have to see what you have in him. You're gonna have to play him if he struggles. Don't send him back to Worcester. Let him kind of work out the problems here and there. We obviously saw in spring training, him cut down on that strikeout and the swing and miss stuff. Was taking more walks, seeing more pitches, so that's obviously a huge positive going into the season. Biggest disappointment. What's the line that MJ has from the latest Spider-Man movie? Like, if you're always basically something along the lines of like, if you're disappointed in everything, you won't be disappointed in anything, or something along the lines of that.
Yeah, I feel like something. Yeah.
Yeah, for the people that have seen the movie, you know what I'm referring to.
They released a Spider-Verse short today, I think.
I did, yeah, for the you just said that, the Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when you're gonna be disappointed in the season as a whole, like it's not that easy to pick a biggest disappointment. But I'm going with Nick Pivetta, and it's not like I don't think Pivetta's gonna like suck or anything and be cut by this team halfway through the season. It's just the fact that they're kind of going with the same thing they went with a couple years back, where I'm sure you remember the John Farrell comment. We have 5 number ones. That comment with how bad their rotation was back in, I can't remember what year that was. Might have been 2014, 15, whatever year it was. People that know the Red Sox and are listening know what I'm referring to and know the comment. Nick Pivetta right now is the number 2 starter. He's not a number 2 starter. He's a 3, 4 at best. Again, I don't think he's going to have a terrible year, but number 2 starter should be a guy like, if they did this right, Bayo should have been your number 2 starter going into the year. Pivetta should have been your 3 or your 4. You should have had a legitimate number 1 ace. We've been over this numerous times. We've kicked that can down the road as much as we can, and beat that horse to death. So Pivetta. Also,
speaking of guys that could have been ahead of Bayo, how about Scott Boras? Took a big hit to his marketing.
Good.
Yeah.
Gracious.
Is there like a next up? Is there gonna be like someone take the throne? What are some of the big names?
Like big names in what, agent wise, or big name
agent? I can't really think of any in baseball.
I can't. I mean, outside of just him in general, I can't think of any big agent across any sports league outside of him. Like, not one comes to mind. But like I said before, you and I have talked about this off air. I'm glad that happened this year, because I think he is one of the. Yeah, that's an obvious one that I don't know how the hell I missed. Who the hell was Brady's for the longest time? Was it Don
Yen?
Don Yen?
Don Yen. I think it was Yen.
Okay.
Yi. I think it was Yen.
Maybe the only reason why I know him is because he was Brady's and I think Garoppolo's too, right? So obviously two Patriots.
No, Donnie Yen is the actor.
I think it's Don Yi.
Oops. Don Yi? Is that it?
Or something Yi, I thought.
Yeah, it is Don Yi. You're right.
Thank you. Yeah. Or one for me.
Yeah, I could rattle off some NHL ones, but we don't need to.
I don't think I know any NHL ones, so that would be, I don't know any basketball ones either. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, like the Boris thing, I'm glad, because I told you before, I think he is one of the main reasons why the MLB season is what it is. Like, you need to put some sort of date in place where you don't have to have guys signed, or make it like the NFL, where you can have some sort of tampering period to start, and maybe some guys get signed a little earlier than they do, because this offseason as a whole was absolutely ridiculous, and Boris was a huge reason why. But yeah, like Pivetta, not too high on him being the number 2 starter. Don't think he's going to stink, but he's not going to be number 2 caliber. My bold predictions for the Red Sox, and this is more Craig Breslow related, because I think he is more willing to pull the trigger than, as we saw, Chaim Bloom was. The Red Sox finally operate like a garbage team that they are at the trade deadline, and deal pretty much every expiring contract. I'm with you. I think Kenley Jansen goes. Why I didn't think the Dodgers like you did, I have no idea. That's a great pull by you. So if that trade ends up happening, you heard that here first. Mike had it. Chris Martin should go. Nick Pivetta, as I just said, hopefully he does not have so bad of a season that you can't get anything for him at the trade deadline. But he should go, expiring contract. And Tyler O'Neill. Be interesting to see what he can do if he, bounces back, has a solid season. But again, he's just an expiring contract. I would shop him, see what you have for him, and move
Yeah,
on.
he could be pretty valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. If he operates like he should be able to and has in the past, a couple of years ago, obviously, but the skill set is there, the talent is there. If he can figure it out, he could be, again, maybe he's a guy they see for the future. But I'd shop him still. You're not going to compete for anything this year, so just full on accept it. And don't pull this, compete but also not compete crap at the deadline again. But again, that's months away than what we're sitting with right now, so we'll have to wait for that. Of course, Tristan Casas, I think he leads the team in home runs. Again, I'm fully going into the Tristan Casas, big year for him. 34 plus home runs. Maybe that doesn't get in the team league because obviously, like you said, Devers has a very good chance for 40. But maybe Casas makes a run. Maybe Devers is more the RBI guy this year than the home run guy. Garrett Whitlock, like I said, I think he'll be the pitcher of the year. I think he leads this team in wins. Looking at 13 plus, I think you're going to have a big Garrett Whitlock season, hopefully, because again, I don't want to see him get hurt. I want to see the guy have success and kind of regain what he was a couple of years ago for this team, albeit in a different role. Kind of going with the rookie of the year. Maybe prediction, Ceddanne Rafaela will flirt with a 2020 season. I think he, was right around 15-ish home runs because we've seen that power potential is there. And we know what he brings on the base paths. The speed is definitely there. It's one of the best parts of his game. So I think you're looking at, 25 plus stolen bases for Ceddanne Rafaela in his first year in the majors.
Ceddanne.
What did I say? Ceddanne?
Ceddanne, yeah.
Fuck.
But you said Ceddanne, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Ceddanne.
yeah. Yep. We're getting to that point in the show where I have talked way too much. And then this one, it pains me to do it, but I think it's necessary. The Red Sox post-trade deadline will not only have maybe new players on the roster trading some of these guys away, but I think they are going to have a new manager by the end of the trade deadline. Maybe not, they're not going to fire Cora trade deadline day. But we talked about this before too. For his sake, like if this season starts to go down the rails and down the toilet like we think it's going to, get the guy out of here. The Red Sox will spin it too.
He'll want out, I think.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. And again, for his sake, do it.
Should.
For sure.
Nothing against the players. Yeah. It really isn't.
And I'm not also advocating
I'll also say Andrew Bailey will step in.
I wouldn't doubt that in the slightest. It seems like with how much they have kind of shown him off in spring training, it seems like they want him to have. And again, I'm hoping the guy does well in the pitching coach department. It seems like they are grooming him to be the next guy or have a bigger role. And the Red Sox will spin it in some stupid BS way too of like, oh, Alex Cora will be stepping away from the team for, some sort of personal thing or, we've come to, mutually part way. Like the guy just doesn't want to do it anymore. And I'm not advocating for, if I know this argument will come up for people, if the season sucks, just give up. Like, Cora's just going to throw in the towel and give up. Like what the guy has been through these last couple of years, like, you should be want the guy to be getting out of here and go with a winning team that actually cares about, what their franchise does and looks like, and competes for World Series titles. Like the guy should not have to go through this again because it's not what he signed up for. Like, well, especially when he came back from his suspension, like he thought they were going to compete year after year. And to be in the toilet for the last, 3 to 5 years is unacceptable. So we've had that, conversation plenty of times.
We sure have.
Yep. The other thing too, because I know you touched on yours very quickly. Is there, like I said, anything you're looking forward to for Red Sox, for the team, for goals, in the 2024 season? The big thing for me, and again, they're not competing this year, so let's on March 27th get that through our heads now. They're not going to be a competitive baseball team this year. They have told you that numerous times. They don't want to be. So this is the year.
Discuss that with friend of the program, Pat.
Does Pat think they're going to compete this year?
Potentially.
What is potentially? Like
be better than people think.
Okay. What's better than people think? Like their win total is 80 wins?
I don't know.
Okay. We'll have to hit up Pat at some point on that and get his thoughts on it. I just lost my train of thought. This team, if they're so hell-bent on focusing on, the upcoming talent and the years upcoming, and, we're looking forward to whatever year they want to look forward to at this point, this has to be a year where you start to kind of weed things out a little bit here and figure out who's going to be with you moving forward and who isn't going to be. You have numerous players that the spotlight will be on this year. We talked about a couple of them. Brian Bayo. We both think Bayo's going to be good, but is he going to be a number one caliber starter? Is he going to be an ace? You have to figure that out because if not, now you're going to have to go into the offseason of next year saying, okay, Bayo can be a 2, he can be a 3. We need 1 or 2 pitchers to kind of complement him here. Like he is not a number one potential guy if things go south for him this year. Again, we hope he pitches well. We hope he turns into an ace. But if he's not ready to, you have to figure that out. And you have to supplement him with guys that are going to help him become that. Garrett Whitlock, like I said, you have to figure out what he is exactly. Is he going to be a starter? If he stinks again, and if he gets hurt and he can't, sustain the starter pace, you have to move the guy back to the bullpen. You have to pitch him where he was successful. So again, you're hoping the starter stuff works out, because obviously it gets him a little bit more money too if he's able to hit some of these incentives. But if he can't figure that out, now again, you have to go back to, okay, we need some guys in the rotation here. How can Crawford? Are there reliable rotation options? Are they swingmen? Can you dangle them in trades if you have to or if you want to? They kind of don't really know what Tanner Houck is right now. It seems like they just kind of put him in the rotation out of necessity. The belief was they're kind of waiting to see what Cooper Criswell does in the minors if he gets stretched out as a starter. And I feel like as soon as that happens, they're going to call him back up here and they're going to put Houck in the bullpen, which would suck because I think Houck is better suited as a starter than a reliever. And I would rather see him in the rotation than Cooper Criswell. But you have to figure out what those two guys are. You have to figure out if Duran and Abreu, two guys that I think we're both high on this year, you especially with Abreu, with your predictions and stuff. You have to see if they're consistent everyday outfielders, or are they platoon guys? And if that's the case, what do you look like? What does your outfield look like moving forward? Can they stay healthy? Duran more specifically. And then the second base, this one really isn't a huge thing for me. But you have Vaughn Grissom, who's going to be coming up at some point after the injury. You have Valdez, who's there now. Can a platoon work at second base? Can you maybe boost Valdez's trade value if he comes out and has a good start to the year? If maybe that's the direction you look to go in. Or do you just kind of scrap it like you said and say, hey, the last 20 or so games of the year, we're gonna go with a kid called up. We're gonna call up Meyer. We're gonna call up York. See what one of them can do at second base. And maybe that's the direction they go in. Like I said, they're not going to compete for a playoff spot this year. I hate to dump on Pat's parade. He is optimistic. I'll give him that, and he has never shied away from that. If he's listening or is going to listen at some point later on, but I guess someone has to be optimistic about this Red Sox team, so it might as well be him, right?
Yeah.
Did you have?
Who's a guy we haven't talked about yet?
Who?
Trevor Story.
Oh yeah, it really wasn't any Trevor Story predictions. Another guy that had I hate how much I brought it up, but had a really good spring training. What are your thoughts and what's your comments maybe that you wanted to get on him if you had any?
I don't want to commit to saying he's going to be awesome this year, but I'm kind of leaning towards him being pretty good.
He's looked. The Bruins just gave up a goal.
Yeah, they sure did.
He's looked really good in spring training, which I hope isn't a fluke. I hope, like I jokingly texted you the other day, because that happened. He doesn't come out and bat like 200 for the first couple months of the season.
Can he provide the web gems this year? Like at shortstop?
You would take that after what you had last year. Like if the bat struggles a little bit, like the fact that you just have the solid defense short is, I think, something you can maybe hang your hat on.
295, 300, and a bunch of home runs. Not talking like a 30 bomb or anything. But
yeah, I think the 30 home runs are more realistic than the 290 average.
He's hit around like close to 300 before, hasn't he?
I want to say like 280s maybe was his highest, but
okay, maybe I went a little high there, but
I might be wrong. I obviously we know numbers get inflated in Colorado all the time, so
let's look at
I always feel like though he was
his best. He had 37 and 35 home runs and 18 and 19. So like. I don't know. He had 16 and 66 his first year with the Red Sox. So if he can get around there and damn, he had 238 that year. I don't know why I thought he was like closer to a 300 guy.
His highest was 294 in 2019.
So let's shoot for like 255 and like 20 home runs. How about that? Unless he can really get that batting average.
Yeah, I would work to get the batting average up. Like if you're sitting at like 270 and 28 home runs, like you'll obviously take that, but like he needs to obviously have a bigger presence than he has had these first couple of seasons, and he's been hurt. So I'm not going to knock him for that. These first couple of years. But if he can stay healthy, you're going to have to produce, and then you kind of hope he can.
Yeah,
we kind of skipped over
it. He's an enigma.
He is. He really is. We kind of skipped over it. You didn't have any written in the outline. I didn't know if off the top of your head you had any bold predictions just for the MLB season. Again, these predictions are 100% going to be right. We're going to nail all of them. So if you have anything you want to get off your chest right now, or can think of anything off the top of your head, or if you'd like me to go to mine and see if maybe you can come up with something if by the end of things?
Yeah, you go first.
Okay, I will go because I have a decent amount here. Some trades, some player call-ups. I'll start with the player call-ups. I think it's a foregone conclusion. We're going to see at least one of these guys. Jackson, I'm going to go with both, though. Jackson Holiday and Paul Skeens will both make their MLB debuts before the All-Star break, which is, of course, July 12th this year. Like I said, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. I think you're going to see Jackson Holiday at some point for the Orioles. And why not? They have seemingly hit on all their young talent so far. They're calling guys up left and right, having guys make their major league debuts left and right. So I think Holiday is going to be on this team at some point. The Pirates, they may wait a little bit for Skeens just because I feel like pitchers take a little bit longer to develop than hitters do. But I think you'll see Skeens at some point. Plus the Pirates, their rotation isn't the greatest thing, so he could fill a hole for them pretty easily if he gets off to a hot start. For trades, I got a decent amount of them. In the American League, like I said earlier, with the record predictions, I think the White Sox blow it up. I think they should at the trade deadline. Moving on from both Eloy Jimenez, who I think becomes a power bat in the Diamondbacks lineup, and then Luis Robert, the big move for them. I think he becomes a much-needed power bat. Veteran presence, solid player in that Reds team. Reds outfield's good, don't get me wrong, but they could obviously use a big thumper in that lineup, and Robert will obviously provide for that. Another AL Central team, I feel like I've traded this guy 3 years in a row. Obviously last year he got hurt, so that kind of negated any sort of trade value he may have had. But I think Shane Bieber, especially if the Guardians are out of it, Shane Bieber finally gets dealt because I think he is a free agent too at the end of this season. So why not try to capitalize on that? He gets moved to the Cubs as the Cubs try to make a push for, an NL Central division title and just a playoff push in general. Staying in the NL Central, I think the Cardinals, like I said, they should do along with the White Sox. They should blow it up as well. They move on from Paul Goldschmidt, who gets traded to the Orioles for that veteran bat for the playoff push that I said earlier that the Orioles could very much use. And Ryan Helsley gets dealt to the Phillies because I feel like we always seem to see Dave Dombrowski make some sort of big splash at the trade deadline. Phillies bullpen doesn't really have a defined closer right now. I can't remember. I think it's Jose Alvarado who might be their closer on opening day. Not the worst option, but you could definitely find better ones. And I think Ryan Helsley is that. My MVP pick, Mookie Betts. I think he makes a run at the Triple Crown this year and a runaway chance for an MVP. We obviously saw him get off to a very good start this year with the first couple games in Seoul. I think he just continues to capitalize off of that and like I said, runs away with an MVP candidacy. Julio Rodriguez puts together a 40-40 campaign, 40 homers, 40 steals. But Bobby Witt leads the league in steals with 50. Because like I said, I don't think we've seen the full potential of Bobby Witt Jr. this season and what he can very well be. And staying with the steals one, this one a little bit of a random one, but I thought it was kind of fun to look this up. We obviously saw a lot of steals last season with the new base rule or the increase in bases, the pitch clock rule, the disengagement, all that stuff. You saw a lot of players, speed come up. Acuna still 70 bases. Esteury Ruiz, who's one of the few bright spots for the Oakland Athletics. He's a guy that could very well steal 50 plus. I just said Bobby Witt Jr. So I think this year the MLB sees their single season steals record broken. The single season record for all the stat nerds out there was 1987, 3,585 steals total for that season. Last year wasn't that far off. 3,500 steals for last year across the majors. So I think you very well could see a record broken this year for league-wide steals. And then we kind of touched on these two teams, what we think they should do with some of these players. The Angels and Mets, I think they will both shop Mike Trout and Pete Alonso. Alonso obviously is an upcoming free agent, so that would be a smart move for the Mets. And the Angels might try to do Mike Trout a little bit of a solid and move him. But I think ultimately and stupidly, they will both refuse to trade either one of those two players. I think the Mets absolutely should be looking to trade Alonso at the trade deadline, especially if they're out of it. Angels might be a little bit more difficult with Trout. But again, we talked about him just for that guy's sake. Like, get the hell out of LA. Like, Shohei did it. It's going to work out for him most likely. Again, Trout, loyalty and all that. I'm not going to knock the guy for that. But still mind boggles me to this day that he signed that massive extension with them. Like, he is just so doomed out there. It's not even funny.
So here's a potential bold prediction.
Okay.
For those, I love them. Might the Baltimore Orioles, with all of their young talent, make a run at Mike Trout?
That is not where I thought you were going. When you started with young players, I knew you were going with some sort of big trade, but I didn't think you were going to go that big. And I don't hate that at all.
Pete
Like, that's
Alonso would cost a lot less. That might be more realistic. But like that would erase the Goldschmidt thing because they both play first base. Mike Trout to the Orioles?
I'm trying to think of what their outfield. I mean, it's
They
obviously
have
whatever
tons
you
of
get
young players.
is an upgrade when it comes to Mike Trout. But
I
you
imagine
do.
Halladay would have to be involved.
If Holiday's involved, they're not making that move. Like,
Yeah.
no
Is it
chance.
Halladay or Holiday? I thought it was Halladay.
No, it's Holiday. It's Matt Holiday's
Ah.
son. You know,
Oh yeah,
you are
I
thinking
get the
Roy
mixed up.
Halladay.
Yeah, rest in peace, Roy Halladay.
Yep, absolutely. I
I
do
don't
like
know.
that one though.
A lot of young players there. Maybe the Rangers. Maybe the Rangers or Mike Trout.
Maybe be
Maybe the
interesting to see if the
Rangers,
Angels
lots
would
of
want to trade within the
pitchers, lots of young
division.
players. Oh wait, what?
I said it'd be
Oh
interesting
yeah,
to see if the Angels want to trade within the division.
yeah. I had brain fart there.
That's a trade if you're the Angels. If you do pull the trigger on it, you trade him to the National League. You don't want anything to do with him being in the AL anymore.
What's an NL team? Maybe
I
that
don't
could make
know.
a push.
I mean, I'm sure the Dodgers would find their way into it somehow, and they would run a fantasy baseball lineup of Freeman, Betts, Trout, Shohei, and anybody and Will Smith, who's now signed for the next decade.
Pirates, Paul Skeens, Brian Hayes, Henry Davis.
No,
I'm thinking the
probably
teams
not.
with just tons of prospects.
Yeah,
like, tons of
let's
good
yeah.
young
You go to
players.
that, and then you look. It's like, did they really want to give that up for 30,
Yeah,
whatever he
exactly.
is, year old Mike Trout? The Pirates would probably just sit on it.
He's
Like it would be.
33?
He's in his mid 30s, yeah, early 30s, mid 30s.
Oh my god, I thought he was
34.
like 30.
No, he's
Damn,
older
alright,
than
well.
that. He's been in the league for a while. No, it would have to be a team that's like playoff bound that wants to put themselves like the Phillies would be a crazy one, but like I don't think they have
Philly connection too.
they don't have the prospects for it or the
Oh yeah.
the cap space probably at
Is
that
it like
point.
even possible to make a Mike Trout trade?
I don't think so.
Goodness.
I don't know. Yeah.
Pete,
I'm sure
Pete
it
Alonso
is
is
like
a guy absolutely seeing the rumor mill if they suck.
Oh, I mean, he'll be in the rumor mill, I feel like, all season, regardless if they stink or like he'll be not to the level that Shohei was, but again, it'll be like, all right, he's coming up for a contract. They're probably not, maybe they're gonna resign. It would be dumb for the Mets not to resign him, don't get me wrong. But it'll be one of those things where it's like, all right, maybe the guy walks in the offseason, you should probably try to deal him with a trade deadline, get something for him. And if they don't, then they're gonna look down. But I mean, the Mets, they weren't shy about trading, Verlander and Scherzer last year. So if they get an offer for Pete Alonso, maybe they take it, and maybe they should, because again, like I don't think that team's going to be too competitive. I'm trying to think like any team for Mike Trout. Cubs, maybe the Cubs. I don't know what they have. That would probably have to be like Pete Crow Armstrong.
Yeah, Pete Crow Armstrong.
I don't know what they have for pitching depth. Like if
Would
you're
Suzuki
the Ain't,
have value or
he does, but I don't know if they would. I mean, he would work. You'd probably have to make it work contract wise too. Like I don't know what that would look like though. That's the only problem.
Who are some of their other prospects? I can't really think of many.
Yeah, I can't think of any. I'm trying to think. Like, if I'm the Angels, I would kind of just say F it to like hitting prospects. I would want a team's like half your pitching prospects because they don't have any. So
let's see here: Pete Crow Armstrong, Cade Horton, Owen Casey, Michael Bush, Matt Shaw. I don't really recognize a lot of these. Jordan Wicks.
I want to say like Braylon Marquez, but that was like 2 or 3 years ago. That kid was one of the top prospects. I don't even know if he's with that organization anymore.
I don't see him in the top 30 here. Yeah, I don't recognize a lot of these names, so I can't really speak that. Matt Shaw is another one I've heard. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably it won't be because it's Mike Trout, but like right now, it's probably a thin list of like teams that could make it work, teams that would want to do it.
I think the Orioles might be the team.
It'd be wild. It really would be. Like. You bring up a good point though with the prospects that unless they just want to like, and again, they can do it because they have the Red Sox want to do it because they think they have the prospects, but the Orioles can actually do it because they have the prospects. Like Baltimore can just sit and wait with all these guys. Like you're seeing it work out right now. Like every prospect they call up is an absolute stud.
That too.
So they could just sit there and go, we're not going to shell out anything for it. Like we'll shell out, occasionally make a big trade like a Corbin Burns or, maybe in the offseason supplement some guys with some veteran signings here and there. But yeah, they definitely, with the prospects they have, really any big name trade piece that comes up, Baltimore should be all over. Like it makes too much sense.
Interesting.
So there you go. We end it with Mike Trout trade talk
speculation
before opening day even starts.
Yes. They should trade him. I don't know how he
do him a solid. Yeah, get him the hell out of there. Like he gets to play with I was talking to my dad about it tonight. Like, a-hole Anthony Rendon doesn't even want to play baseball. Like, the guy's an
Yeah,
absolute loser. Like,
that's it.
yep.
Oh God, they have Joe Adele, don't they?
I don't even like. He is so
Is he
far
good?
removed. No, he is so far removed from being the top
Oh,
prospect he
okay.
was projected to
Well,
be. Like, I think he is basically like a career
it's,
minor leaguer now at this point. Like his fall off was massive.
it's that organization is a phenomenal case study.
It really is. Like
Um,
you have legitimately the two best players in baseball. You could never make it work.
there was one big name they drafted recently. I'm looking at their list. I don't see him. Yeah. All right. Well,
Oh,
and
put
the
it this
Shawno
way.
guy, Nolan Chanel. This
I was
guy.
just gonna say him.
They
That was
said
the
he could
point I
be in
was.
the. That was the guy they said he could be in the MLB right away as a rookie.
He was. They drafted
He played
him.
last year, right?
Yep. He played I think
Oh,
the
okay.
last
All
month
right.
and a half. But that's what I was gonna say is like you're maybe that just goes to show how good the prospect is. But the way I take it is if you're calling up a guy you drafted 2 months ago or whenever he was called up by them, that just shows how shitty your organization is. That like you don't have any other prospects you can call up. You have to rely on a 20-something-year-old kid that was playing in college 2 months ago.
They should bring Tim Salmon, Troy Gloss, and Jared Weaver back.
Yep.
Did
And
Roy
just try
Oswald
to.
play for them?
Did who?
Did Roy Oswald play for them?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. Maybe I'm thinking someone else.
You might be.
Um, Jim Edmonds played for them,
He
I
did.
think. Jim
Yep.
Edmonds, but let's just go back in time. Maybe that'll make them good.
It might.
Um, that's it for baseball.
Mhm.
For the baseball fans, you're gonna want to listen to all of that. Good stuff. About 2 hours. My goodness.
Yeah, it was a
Hey, it's
while.
good stuff. We gotta get these big previews out every
Mhm.
once in a while. So
It's the longest regular season, so let's make it the longest show. That's how that goes.
yeah. Love it. Love it. Rangers and Bruins on the 21st. Bad. Things have gone bad
Very
against
bad.
the Rangers this year, pretty much. 5-2 loss. 26-29 stopped by Mr. Swayman. Outshot 31-26. Gave away the puck 19 times as opposed to the Rangers 7. And they went over 3 on the power play.
All not
Thought
recipe for
DeBrusque.
successes.
No. DeBrusque has that empty net. He's holding the puck for too long, and I thought somebody was just going to get in the way, and I was going to be angry. He buried it. Heinen inadvertently feeds Panarin, and Swayman can't stop it on the 5-hole. He needs to there. Soft goal. Some soft goals I didn't love this past week. That was one of them. Horrible giveaway by Lindholm. Panarin scores his 40th off of it. Banked it off of a sprawled DeBrusque, who really yard sailed to try to make a play there. Unfortunately, didn't work. Another theme of this week: size prevailing for one Justin Brazeau in his large frame, in which he looks about 7 feet tall out there, but he's just 6'5". Just 6'5", being of
Yeah.
course, an absurd thing to say. He buries a loose puck after battling with another large individual, Keandre Miller, a very hard individual, I would imagine, to battle in front of the net with. And he beats him and he buries a loose puck. This guy is just a monster, Justin Brazeau. Like, he's a spectacle to watch. On the Fox goal, you would have really thought the Bruins were on the penalty kill with the way they played defense. It was quite bad and quite soft. Speaking of turnovers, a really bad one by Charlie Coyle leads to the first empty netter for Mika Zibanejad, eventually, and Panarin adds another for number 41. And the Bruins disrespect Celine Dion while she is in the building. Music royalty.
Can't be doing
Not
that.
great.
No.
Can't be doing that.
Very embarrassing.
Then they lose a game that made me more angry than most in this season. And I'll tell you why, Ryan.
Okay. Made Jim Montgomery mad too, apparently, in the practice afterwards.
Oh, yeah. And rightfully so. Swayman, or Omar Copycat Swayman, makes 26 saves and 29 shots, much like Swayman did against the Rangers. They were outshot 29-20 early on. Brad Marchand takes a little knee-on-knee hit, inadvertent or not, from Eric Johnson. Gets pretty pissed, takes a penalty for freaking out. Nobody defends him. Didn't like that. Stick up for your captain. Then he doesn't really do much the rest of the game. You think he responded, had a couple good shifts after, then didn't really do much. Starts shit with Scott Lawton at the end, right in his face. Didn't like that. You didn't do enough to help your team win the game, I think, and then you're talking shit at the end. That's loser behavior. And something I don't like. So that really made me upset after the game. I was quite animated and pretty bad response after the Rangers game. Tyson Forster takes a shot that springs a broken play for Travis Konecny, just an easy backdoor goal. Not great. Unfortunate. Justin Brazeau, again, like this guy, like he has a like his reach is like not Chara level, but it's like watching Chara play forward with that reach sometimes. Like just an insanely long stick. Just reaches around Urson because his reach is just that long. It's insane. Did I say reach enough there? Wraps one around Samuel Urson. A drive-by effort. Another thing I didn't like about Brad Marchand leading to the second goal. Just kind of whacks it with a stick. Does a little whoop instead of, stopping and going to help. The little whoosh. Didn't like that. What happened?
The beam is gone.
Oh my God,
It was
gone.
a smudge on my camera for the longest time, apparently.
Oh,
I'm
that
gonna
makes
cut you
sense.
off. That
That's okay.
a little bit of a downer to how that story started and ended.
I
From
know.
a heavenly
thought I was
light
gonna
to
lose you.
yeah, to a thumbprint on a camera. But
Yeah, there you go.
sorry,
Well,
that's the.
I'm glad you remedied it. I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
Um,
Apologies for cutting you off for that. Not that big of
no,
a
no.
breaking news development or anything, but
Oh goodness, Pavel Zacha, please score that next time. Yeah, I didn't like the effort by Marchand there. He whacks at it, whatever. You didn't really have a lot of time to like stop and make a great play there on the fly. Then he just kind of goes, coasts around, watches it all happen, to make a hard stop, get on that puck. You stop a goal there if you do. And a softie by Omark that I did not enjoy. Morgan Geeky, this spinning pass was a little crazy. Something I didn't know he had in his game to Heinen. He ties it. Great sequence there. And Tyson Forster always scores against the Bruins, it feels like. He's like the evil David Pastrnak, who did nothing against the Flyers uncommonly. Had 43 points in 30 career games against the Flyers coming in, had one shot on goal in this game.
not great,
Travis
especially when
Konecny
you take his over in that game.
I did. I sure did.
As I did as well.
Tremendously unfortunate. It is what it is. Another softie. I think Goldmark needs to have that. That was a bad goal. Great shot. Also could have saved it. In my opinion. Yeah, it game made me angry. And made Jim Montgomery angry, like you were talking about. Told him to wake the F up, bag skated him, suicides, but deserved. Very deserved. Team responded well, talking to the media after. And overall, I think responded well against Florida. It started rough, but they won 4-3. Swayman only faces 21 shots, which is pretty crazy given what Florida is capable of. Shots were 21 apiece. The officiating was quite poor and made me sad. Matthew Tkachuk tries to kind of disguise a little kicking motion at Parker Wotherspoon. I think he partially meant to do that, maybe not fully. Wotherspoon gets 2 for the helmet roll, but Sam Bennett doesn't get the same later on for taking off Hampus Lindholm's helmet, which I thought was bizarre. They were kind of tied up in front of the net. Lindholm was kind of like, hey, like, haha, we're tied up. Oh, yeah, this will blow over. And then Bennett just started, like, really wanting to beat the shit out of him.
Yep.
Speaking of beating the shit out of each other, Charlie McAvoy trying to do that to Anthony Cirelli right now. He's kind of succeeding.
Frederick,
now
too.
Trent Fredericks in there. Yeah, I kind of lost my train of thought there, not gonna lie. I'm kind of still on here.
Okay.
I didn't understand why Sam Bennett was so upset. He seemed much more upset than Hampus Lindholm, an unwilling participant in his first career fight. And Lindholm got his ass beat, kind of. So,
That was his
that was
first
weird.
career fight.
Yeah, he's
Oh
not
my
a fighter.
God.
He's a gentle man.
You thought he would run into one at some point before he
Sometimes
came
too
over
gentle of a man for a 6'4",
here. A little bit, yeah.
220-ish pound individual.
I'd like some more nastiness, please.
Yeah, a little better defense as well.
Yep.
And maybe some production. 1 goal this year. Not relying
Not
on you
great.
to score. A little more production here. Like, let's mix in some assists here. McAvoy was really throwing him there.
Pissed
The
about
Rodriguez
something.
goal. Way too early to allow a goal. Didn't enjoy that. Great forecheck by Vladimir Tarasenko of all people. Hammers McAvoy behind the net, sets the tone, and it eventually matriculates into a goal for one former BU Terrier, Evan Rodriguez. They struggled to get shots early. I think like first 10 minutes, they had like one shot on goal, but ended up out shooting the Panthers in the first period. Game was a shit show, but the Bruins made the Panthers look like the lesser team at the end. Charlie McAvoy snipes his 10th of the year, ties his career high in the season. He had 10 in 78 games in 21-22. Sam Reinhart scores a minute and 13 seconds later. Not great. Swayman was upset. I don't really know why. Maybe he thought there was some goaltender interference in the crease, or he thought Reinhart kicked it or tried to. I don't know. Didn't know the whole story there. I don't even know if the media asked him. They might have forgotten to ask him, given all the shit that happened after that, for the rest of the game. Loved the Pastrnak goal. This is what we need to see more of. Marchand's in there throwing his body around. Puck ends up back on McAvoy's stick. Throws a stretch pass, wide open stretch pass, Pasta. Makes Bobrovsky, Buptitsky, whatever you want to call him, look a little foolish for point number 100 on the season. Charlie Coyle's kind of having a rough go lately. And tonight, that shot he passed up on was pretty bad. I've said it before. He loves to pass up on shots, and that needs to stop. It's not a new thing. Misses the net on some sort of shot attempt, kind of like maybe he was looking to shoot it, maybe he's looking to pass it, maybe he didn't know. Ends up around the net, swirls around, Matthew Tkachuk takes it, breakout, and they end up scoring. So Carter Verhaeghe scores another soft goal. Little partial Carlo screen, but I think Swayman needs to stop that puck. And he has not been great over the past month, which is concerning. So right now, again, like we talked about last week, Ullmark is my game one starter. Maybe I have to imagine this is part of the reason Monty isn't super comfortable going into the playoffs, and I don't blame him. Especially because, like, on the other side of things, this is a guy who's a big part of your future that Don Sweeney needs to lock up at the right dollar amount. This could be affecting that payday. So who's going to box here?
Somebody on a trip of Pastrnak.
Hey, Pasta tripped again, drawing penalties. Anthony Duclair to the box. Frederick scores just his second of the month on the power play and fourth point of the month off a Florida defender skate for Marchand. Great goal. This is some of that like taste of we've seen of that big time finishing ability. Those one-timers in the slot from Frederick that he's capable of now as he evolves his game. Hopefully that spurs things. Speaking of Marchand, really just waiting for him to score his 400th. He scored 399 on March 9th. So, yeah, that was when they beat the crap out of the Penguins. Pastrnak sends a pass to Zacha, and it looked like it might have deflected off Kulikov, but apparently it deflected off Zacha and it, who's been quite good lately. I've been very, very pleased with Pavel Zacha. One thing I noticed, Marchand and Mikla getting in that fight stopped a odd man rush for Matthew Tkachuk and someone else when Matthew Tkachuk was coming out of the box. The Bruins were down at that point, so that was huge. Carlo and Lindholm had a rough night. Time to split them up, as Ty Anderson said, and they did. Lindholm is playing with Peak tonight, which is not something I expected, but you gotta switch something up. My idea was like Lindholm, McAvoy, Wotherspoon, and Lowry and Carlo, and then whoever besides Shattenkirk or Grzelcyk of the two who's not with Carlo with Peak on the third pairing. But we'll see how it goes. I don't think it's been horrible tonight, but not great. Carlo had a rough look on that Mitchell Chaffee goal. Really rough look, overcommitted, big time. Not a great stretch for him lately either. And what's been a pretty solid season overall, which is kind of unfortunate. Thing I noticed in the third period, the Panthers were going for every hit. They were pretty much the whole game, but like you could tell they felt the pressure, like they had to be overly physical in this. They were missing some hits. One time Marchand made Tkachuk miss and go right into Carter Verhaeghe. That was pretty funny. The Bruins out hit them too. This is a tough team to out muscle, low key. Like sometimes the Panthers like are sneaky physical, and by sneaky I shouldn't really say that because they got bastards like Sam Bennett and Nick Cousins to throw their weight around and a few other guys. The Bruins had Matthew Tkachuk rattled for most of this game, I think. And he got rattled over a little like love tap that got called on Johnny Beecher, which I sent you, which was dumb.
Yeah, that was a joke.
That was even called. That the slashing culture changing in the NHL is one of the worst things that happen in sports in across the board. It's just terrible. Any stick contact, any contact on the hands, it's awful. This is the resilient response game they needed. It wasn't perfect. I thought Andrew Peak looked really good last night. I thought he made good decisions, like didn't always just make the first read. I thought he embraced physicality well. I've liked him overall. Like I said last week, he made some mistakes, but overall, I think you should take what you're getting right now with Andrew Peak for a guy you got with nothing off your NHL roster. Didn't come without bruises though, but it was a resilient game. They brought it together to hopefully build on and prove to Montgomery that they are in fact ready for the playoffs. Did you watch this game last night, Ryan?
No, this was the game that I texted you that I 20 seconds in or whatever it was, I gave the first goal, and I'm like, oh, here we go again. And I ended up going and doing something else, and then immediately regretted it because it was one of the better games that I probably should have tuned in for.
That's okay. That's what I'm here for, to recap you on some
Absolutely.
things. Tampa tonight, looking forward. Bruins just need a point to clinch, like the Rangers did last night. They hit the 100 mark in an overtime win against the Flyers. Great game, by the way. 6-5 final, I believe it was 5-4, 6-5. Caught a bit of it. Nikita Kucherov, of course, being the big bad man on this team, potential MVP, 123 points. Quite preposterous. Very good player. At one point had like 17 points in 3 games recently. Just an absurd man. Washington, you got another tough week. Washington is -30 or more in goal differential and somehow in a playoff spot. But like they're playing for something. Rookie head coach, Ovi's playing good again. Dylan Strome's been awesome. Connor McMichael's coming into his own. Charlie Lindgren has become a great goalie for them. This is a team like they're just playing for something. Like I don't know if they know like where they're gonna end up in the postseason, but like this is a team that's playing for something and a team that's gonna be annoying, I think.
So what are you saying?
They really are.
Like Florida last year, a team you don't want to see first round of the playoffs, or no?
I think they will lose to anyone they face in the first round. But right now, they're an annoying team to play against. They're playing for something. They're playing for Spencer Carberry. I tweeted about this a few weeks ago. I see a lot of clips from their locker room. I love how he carries himself. He's an old Toronto Marlies head coach. I believe he might have been on Toronto's staff as an assistant as well at the NHL level at some point, but I'm not sure. I don't think so, actually. I love the way he carries himself, and I'm rooting for this guy because, they've done a good like hybrid selling / buying approach more so last year at the deadline, and they're still competitive. Like they traded some guys again this year, and they're still competitive. Not like huge name guys. Max Pacioretty actually exercised his right to stay instead of going to the Rangers, which was interesting. This is going to be an annoying game, and you're playing in their barn. So as they try to find a new place for the Caps and Wizards to play, which got denied today, they won a huge game last night for their playoff hopes against Detroit in OT. And the fact that they won in OT made it so the Bruins did not clinch last night, unfortunately. They needed that game to end in regulation for Washington to clinch, but maybe they'll get a point tonight against the Lightning. The Nashville Predators. The Nashville Predators is the story of the NHL right now, Ryan. Did you know they have not lost a game in regulation in their last 18?
I did not know that. That is quite wild.
16-0-2. I believe this win streak, or streak without a regulation loss, started after they had like a bad game or a bad practice or something, and they were going to go to a concert as a team, and their coach canceled it.
Oh, I did hear about this. Yeah, I did hear about this. Absolutely.
I think this win streak started the next game. I could be wrong.
Oh, what a coincidence.
Roman Josi.
All right, coach isn't fucking around.
Roman Josi is playing awesome. They got Jason Zucker at the deadline. They did a little hybrid selling Washington type of thing, sold off some pieces, added guys like Jason Zucker and Anthony Beauvillier. Philip Forsberg is playing great. Roman Josi is carrying that team. UC Saros has been playing good in net. I don't want to play this team if I'm in the West in the playoffs. I don't. Because we know what that building can be like, especially if they can carry some semblance of this into the playoffs. I might put them over anyone in the first round.
Wow.
This team is they.
So what are you saying? Like last year's Florida Panthers team?
Ryan,
In this case, yes.
Now that's where your mind is
Yeah.
right.
Okay.
I don't know.
Thankfully, the
Cup
Bruins
final?
don't have to see them in the first round.
Cup final? Not sure. But this Panthers. Now you got me mixed up with the P's here. This Predators team is great. This is a great hockey team coached by a guy that showed a lot of promise with as an assistant in New Jersey last year and with Florida after he took over for Joel Quenneville. Well, he was let go after the whole Kyle Beach incident investigation related to the Blackhawks. So Phil Forsberg, 81 points, very quiet 81 points. I feel like with Nashville kind of being a middling team for a lot of the year, people don't really talk about them as much. And Phil Forsberg, still nasty. And know what I discovered? Gustav Nyquist, extremely quiet, 65 points this year.
It's pretty good.
Turning back the clock a little bit. This is a great team. And I think they're going to give the Bruins a hell of a run for their money in their own barn. But maybe if Jeremy Swayman's in net, I talk about this one every once in a while. One of the last times, if not the last time he played in Nashville, he had a 42 save shutout. So
he needs a get right game.
He needs
bad.
so bad.
Yeah.
Real bad,
Yep.
Ryan.
My confidence in him has been shaken
yeah, me too.
A lot. Like it's not good. Like
it's not good. No, it's not. We're repeating each other.
Yeah.
Some other news, Riley Durant, not Walpole. I always get Walpole and Woburn and the W's mixed up here for some reason. I thought Walpole was in the North Shore until I was like 18. It's not. Nope. Fun fact. Riley Durant of Woburn, Mass. once likened himself, I believe, to Charlie Coyle. Providence Friar has signed his 2-year entry-level contract with the Bruins. I like Riley Durant. I have a lot of time for him. Profiles as a good bottom six forward someday. I like him a lot. Plays hard, plays physical, gets the net, has some scoring touch. Not a lot to hate about his game. According to Mark Diver, had a good meat and potatoes effort in his AHL debut last night. He's 22. Yeah, so like it's not like if he's in the mix next year, he's like this 20-year-old little duckling trying to make the team as a 20-year-old or something. He's got some games under his belt. He's got a lot of college experience. I wonder if he'll be in the mix for a roster spot next year, but probably a little Providence time before he's a Bruins call-up. 19 points his freshman year at Providence, 20 points his sophomore year, and 16 this year. So a little bit of a down year, but it's okay. Good player. 6th-round pick. Like, you'll take that for what you got so far. Maybe he's a bottom 6 for the Bruins someday. Excited to see how he progresses. He's a fun player to watch. Plays a hard-nosed style. Unfortunate prospect news. Fabian Lysell looks like his season might be in jeopardy. On a rush, fell, went really hard on the boards. So much so the opposing goalie checked on him and the trainers rushed out onto the ice. And Ryan Mougenel, the head coach, doesn't seem super optimistic. Really unfortunate. Just crossed the 50-point plateau. Not a common thing for Providence Bruins players. Really unfortunate. Was having a really good season. Potentially earning a late season call-up, little audition. I was hoping. Not super optimistic, but I think they were kind of planning on him staying there the whole year and making the team next year. Really unfortunate that he's hurt. Don't know what his exact timetable is, but he's expected to miss a good amount of time. He's 17th in the AHL in points right now, 14th in assists. He's having a really good year. Looking like a great player. In more positive news, scoring-wise, Georgian Merkulov, after 2 points the other night, is now 2nd in AHL scoring, behind one Maverick Bork, who's going sicko mode. 69 points in 62 games. Merkulov has 58 and 57. Caveat here, Logan Stankoven, 47 games played, 57 right behind him, has been with the Stars for like the past 15 games, so maybe Merkulov will be a little lower on the list. Stankoven was still down there. He's in there along the likes of Adam Gaudette and Cole Lind as well. So Jordan Merkulov, fantastic season in Providence, great player. I'm not going to spend too much time on my bracket, but I'll read it out. I got real OG college hockey fans will recognize this shirt. The shirt's probably 15 years old. Don't know how it still fits me. I really don't. I don't know ripped. I don't know if these were around like 10 years ago somehow, and I got one before they stopped selling them, but they don't sell them anymore. I don't know how this thing fits. Maybe I got one when I was a little older, but I remember having one when I was a little bucko. So Let's start in the Sioux Falls region. BU, RIT. I think RIT gives BU a game. I like RIT's value on the money line to potentially upset BU. I also like it a +2.5. But I think BU will pull it out. RIT's got a good goalie. They shoot the puck a lot. They play hard. I like RIT to potentially upset BU, but I'm going BU. Omaha, Minnesota. It's Minnesota. They were number 1 seed last year. Didn't get it done. I think they come out with some motivation here and beat Omaha. It's really that simple for me. Still got a good team. Not quite as good for Minnesota standards, I guess. Losing Logan Cooley last year and Matthew Nyes, but still a good team. Still have their goalie from last year as well. Springfield region, I have Denver and UMass, and with Denver coming out on top, the number 1 seed in that region. They're Denver. They're always here. They always find a way to do something. They're still good. If they get Massimo Rizzo, their top forward scorer, top team scorer back, that's huge. Jack Devine and Z Bouillon and crew can pick up the slack in the meantime. I like them to be UMass, but I could absolutely see this going the other way. UMass, another team with tons of postseason experience lately, a national championship. I can see this game going both ways. Very excited for this one. I'd love to see this game go to overtime. Cornell and Maine. Bruins prospect, 6th-round pick Ryan Walsh will be involved in this. Scored the game winner in one of their playoff games recently. Cornell's solid. They always play like a defensive style. I feel like I just have Maine pulling it off. They got a fun team this year. They're rising to the occasion. They're potentially becoming a powerhouse. And I like the Nadeau brothers and crew to pull this off for Maine and go to play Denver in the next round. Michigan State, my biggest ticket, +5,000. Took it in July. Smart people knew. Great coach who's got some familiarity with his new guys. Great roster, great transfer portal. Artem Levshunov, one of the best players in the country, potential number 2 pick in the draft. Great team. If you saw the value, good for you. I did. If BC loses, I would hope Michigan State wins. They're going to beat Western Michigan, but Western Michigan is going to give them a battle because Western Michigan is always one of those lower seeded teams that can sneak up on you. North Dakota and Michigan. Michigan not quite as good as years past, but North Dakota is just better. I don't know if they'll be able to. Their goaltending will be able to withstand North Dakota's attack, led by Jackson Blake. BC Michigan Tech. I will be there at the dunk on Friday in Providence with my uncle. Let's go. They're going to beat Michigan Tech. This is another team, though. They're in that same mold. One of those teams that can sneak up on you. Those Michigan teams, the lower-end Michigan teams, Minnesota teams, whatever, St. Clouds, if they're a lower seed. But it's BC. They're just too stacked. Like, come on, look at that roster. Look what they did in the Hockey East tournament. Hockey East champs, first time in 12 years. Best roster in the nation. They'll win this game. Quinnipiac, Wisconsin. I'm giving Quinnipiac the edge. 2 great coaches, 2 great teams. I'm giving Quinnipiac the edge, though. They're going to want to repeat. They're not losing in the first round. I don't see it. I also have money on Wisconsin as well at +1,400 from earlier in the season. Next round, BU Minnesota. This is going to be a great game. I'm going to go Minnesota, though. I can't do it. I can't put BU over them. I think this is going to be a great game, but I have Minnesota edging them out. They're playing for something. I think BU is good but vulnerable. I don't think Matthew Caron is this surefire, like, shut-the-door goalie. I'm giving Minnesota the edge here. Denver over Maine. This is where the run ends for Maine. Great season, but it's Denver. They've been here too much. I can't put Maine over them. Michigan State, North Dakota. I'm going North Dakota. Hurts for the future, but North Dakota's got the experience. They always do. They're built for this. I can't put Michigan State over them. Trey Augustine will have to be really good in net for Michigan State. BC Quinnipiac. BC beat them once. They can do it again. It'll be a really tough game, though. A team trying to go back to the national championship, but I have BC edging them out. Close one. Then BC over North Dakota and Denver over Minnesota. 2 awesome semifinal games. They're just built for it. I can't put Minnesota over them, especially with the losses they took. This will obviously depend on if Rizzo's back, their number 1 center. But then BC over North Dakota. I think BC's got more depth. North Dakota's a great team with lots of experience and good coaching. And better goaltending. If Jacob Fowler can stand tall in net, freshman goaltender, and the big guys can show up, I like BC to win this. And then bias pick, a reasonable pick. Look at this BC team this year. For the first time since 2012, the Boston College Eagles will be national champions yet again over the Denver Pioneers. Last time they did it, it was against Ferris State. Same colors, same region of the country.
Stars are aligning.
Different teams, same result. Same colors as BC, kind of actually.
Right.
It's the year. It has to be. It isn't always that simple with 1 seeds, but if BC loses, it'll be because they are not as experienced as some of these other teams that have been here. That's what it comes down to. It's usually an experienced team winning, but this BC team is just too talented for me to not pick them. I know I'm a BC fan. I always have been. I'm biased. I just can't pick against them. I can't. It would feel wrong. It would feel inauthentic. And I hope I'm right because my happiness will be destroyed if I'm not. So that's it. My happiness lies in your hands, Eagles. Let's do it again for the first time since 2012. That's my bracket. I have it tweeted out too from a few days ago for anybody who'd like to reference it at any point. That's about it for hockey. We got a few football notes. Just a few.
Okay.
Rule changes are on the way, Ryan, and I like them. I do.
The only one I really knew about, I like the kickoff because that was the only one I have really.
No. I have to hold on. I have to say I like the kickoff rules.
That's what I was gonna. That's the only one that I know about is the kickoff rule. The one that I have followed kind of closely and saw was the kickoff rule. What else has come out? Let's do this like we did the NHL rule changes last week.
I am surprised you have not seen the other one, Ryan.
No, I haven't. Oh no, are you talking about the hip tackle one?
The hip drop.
Yeah, I have seen that one.
The hip drop tackle being banned is preposterous.
Yeah, it's a little ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, I get where they're coming from, but also like how. At what point do you just kind of feel like you're transitioning towards just taking tackling out of the game as a whole?
Like, putting flags on the waistband.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Like as high speed as this is, like now guys are gonna have to worry about like how they tackle a guy or how they approach tackle. Like this is, I mean, maybe
tight ends. Tight ends are gonna feast.
Yeah, they are. You know,
big boys.
I didn't even think of that. That's
Big boys are gonna feast.
Get Gronk out of retirement
so he can start lining up offensive linemen. Yeah, Gronk should come out of retirement. Put an offensive lineman at tight end a little more often now. Like a guy like Penei Sewell. Remember him a couple years ago?
Yeah, absolutely.
Goodness gracious.
Yep.
Good luck trying to take him down without a hip drop. I like the new kickoff rules.
I do too. Yep.
You know, safety is at the forefront here. I appreciate that. That's not the reason I like it. I like it because it's fun and it's different. And I think they said 23% of kicks were returned last year. That's not enough.
No.
We saw in the days of Devin Hester, I'm not going to run down a bunch of names. Who is some other names, though? Like, any other big names that come to mind? Tavon Austin in college, at least, was amazing. Yeah. One of the best highlight tapes ever. We've seen Deontay Hardy have a couple good ones here and there. I feel like there's one other big name I'm forgetting. Cordero Patterson, as at the time.
Yeah, yep.
Newly a Steeler. Forgot to put that in the outline. 2 years. I like it. It's interesting. It's going to be chaotic at first, which will be funny.
Yeah, yep.
And I think it's overall going to be a net positive. Kickoffs are fun. It's really that simple.
I didn't get it at first, and
it sucks to see a guy go down.
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
Kick return.
Yep.
It's going to be safer and it's going to be fun. I like it.
I didn't get it at first when I read the initial tweet about it, but then I saw somebody put out a video of like what it looks like, and because where's it's coming from? Is it the CFL or the arena? What the rule is coming from?
CFL or XFL or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's But yeah, then I saw a video. Somebody tweeted out what it actually looks like in game. I'm like, okay, that actually is like I like that. That's cool. I'm very curious to see though. Like, I wonder if because obviously people you get people, like changing directions and everything. And you got linemen fly. I wonder like if this is going to lead to more guys like getting not like blindsided, but like guys not paying attention, trying to figure out like, okay, when's my guy catching the ball? When do I have to block now? So like, I wonder if it's gonna lead to maybe more like guys getting kind of lit up, not paying attention. You know what I mean? Or like you said at the start, maybe some guys kind of forget they have to. Like I'm curious to see that too. Like if some guys forget the rule and move beforehand, and like if that gets like penalized or something like that. So it does kind of lead to maybe some new things that pop up that might have to get addressed. But I'm down with it too. I'm perfectly fine with them changing the kickoff rule. I think that one's kind of been a long time coming type of thing. Like you said, to try to get more action into the game, because yeah, you obviously want to stress player safety, but you also don't want to have, the game just starting off with guys kind of just standing around waiting for something to happen.
Of course, too, a kickoff return with this for a touchdown, I feel like won't be as exciting.
No, yeah, that's the one knock, but
there's no more fair catches. Fair catches stink.
Yeah.
But we know why they're necessary. You can have a maximum of 2 returners. And the kicking team can't move until the ball's in the landing zone or is fielded there. So see how it works out. I think some people are going to hate it, but that's okay. That just happens with rule changes.
Exactly.
Other news: third challenge proposed by the Lions. The rule allowed a third challenge following one successful challenge. For this challenge, both challenges had to be successful to get a third. Pretty simple. I don't really see the downside of that, unless some controversy comes out of like a successful challenge, I guess.
Yeah.
New reviewable plays. The league has expanded where they can use replay. That now includes the ruling that a quarterback is down or out of bounds, whether or not the play clock expired before the snap can also be reviewed.
That one's going to get abused.
Yeah.
And like I say with I think I did it last week with 2 weeks ago whenever we talked about the NHL ones, and you said there was one that replay was getting expanded or something else was getting reviewed or whatever it was. Get it done quickly. If you're going to expand replay, do not expand the amount of time it takes to figure these type of things out. You better be able to get it done quick.
Good enough.
I'm all for getting the call right, but if it takes 45 seconds to a minute to do so, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, totally fair. Unlimited designated to return players. This one's pretty straightforward. I don't really see why anyone would have a negative take on this one. It's pretty straightforward. Trade deadline moved back. I don't mind this.
Yeah,
I think it makes a little more sense, especially with an extra week added to the season recently.
Yeah, I always felt like the NHL trade deadline always kind of came up super fast, and then like obviously nothing really happens at the trade deadline in football to begin with, but it is. I don't think it's the worst thing to have an extra week, just kind of get more guys, maybe some more players involved, stuff like that.
It can add for more excitement too, because what if that extra week happens and someone unfortunately gets hurt? Then that guy can get replaced, and some guy could end up
absolutely
somewhere where nobody expected him, or something crazy could happen. I don't know. It's this is another one. Like, if you have a strong take on this one, I think you're just
exactly. Yeah, if you're pissed the trade deadline's a week later, like
it's the freaking trade deadline. Like, who cares? Everybody cares about the trade deadline, I guess, to an extent, but like it's a week later. Like, it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Last season, emergency quarterbacks had to be on the 53-man roster. Now the NFL has amended that by expanding it to include practice squad quarterbacks. Makes sense, I suppose. Declaring players who did not travel, proposed by Buffalo. The league approved the resolution to make the injury reporting rules for players who do not travel with their clubs to away games from their home city competitively fairer. Okay, I don't really know
what that.
Yeah, I don't really
what
know,
that entails. Whatever. Like, I'm curious as to why like the teams like Buffalo. I don't know if maybe I'm assuming it's something that like happened to that specific team, but like what makes Buffalo want to like declare that type of rule change? You know what I mean? Why is it so important to the Bills that this is something you had to bring up and stress?
I don't know, man. Hawkeye feed proposed by Jacksonville. The NFL approved to expand the 2023 preseason trial by providing a specific Hawkeye feed in the coach's booth for the 2024 preseason, and with full implementation in 2025.
I'm assuming that would just lead to more like abilities or
Jeremy Renner joining the fold.
That's okay. I'm like, wait a minute, the brain wasn't working there.
Had to. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a freebie. There you go. To me, that one just kind of screams going hand in hand with the extra like challenge, and the more things that can get challenged or be reviewed, like just another camera angle, I guess, or a better camera. Like I don't know, better camera angle. Just to kind of see what's going on in the game. I'm with you. Like some of these last ones, like
whatever. Yeah.
Nothing against you because I know you had to read these, but like the rules fell off just pretty damn quick there. NFL. Yeah.
Just to make sure we cover all the bases.
You had 2 fun ones at the start, NFL, and then you kind of just you bungled it all up with I don't know, not like verbiage. You know what I mean? Like technical mumbo jumbo. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, we're just finishing up the show here, folks.
You know how it goes.
That's it there. Could JJ McCarthy be a commander? Ryan, apparently the betting odds went up from like plus 2,500.
Give it to me. I want chaos.
Plus 400. Please take him at 2.
Give it to me.
Please. Apparently Adam Peters loves him. Oh, please, Adam Peters. Please. They should build a statue for you when he becomes a Hall of Famer. Yes.
This is nothing against you. And I texted you about this the other day, and like obviously you're not on the level of like NFL scouts and NFL coaches and stuff like that, but you are adamantly against JJ McCarthy, and there are a lot of people that are starting to come around on JJ McCarthy and speaking very highly of him. Is there any reason why you
I think
think
it's
that?
partially
Are
because
you
of
coming
Harbaugh.
around? Like,
A little bit tinfoil hat because of Harbaugh.
I don't think that's too much tinfoil hat. I think that could very well be the reason. Like, he is talking this guy
Harbaugh
up like he is the
wants
next Brady coming up. Like,
Harbaugh wants him in the top 4, so everybody takes a quarterback, and he gets Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors to choose from.
oh, I didn't even think of that angle. I mean, yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
smart though. Good. He
Also, I
wants
think
him
he
in the
does
top
love the
four.
guy.
We'll
He does
we'll
love
give
the
you
guy, no
three
doubt.
for Justin Herbert and something else. If
I
you
would
can
give them
draft him
3 for
yourself.
Justin Herbert straight up.
Yep,
I really would.
I'm right there with you.
Patriots had a lengthy meeting with him ahead of his pro day on Friday. Um, People will slob on this kid's knob because of a fucking pro day. You know how I feel about pro days. Everybody
You
has
are
highlights from their
not a
fucking
fan.
pro day.
Yep.
Like, cool. Like, you see some stuff you like. Pro days, to me, are for NFL teams and executives to talk to players. And that's it. Everybody overreacts to highlights. Pro days are fine, but they're not the end all be all for me. They change nothing about a quarterback for me ever, really. But
It is
it is
funny
what it is.
you bring that up because I did hear Zolak talked about it. And he kind of shared from what I heard this kind of a similar thought process of like a lot of these pro days, and obviously he knows he obviously has been through it, he's seen it. A lot of these pro days, he said like they are drawn up by like the quarterback's offensive coordinator, and the plays are drawn up of plays that like the quarterback should be able to make throws on. I think he said like the ball should never hit the ground. So kind of similar things to what you said. Like it basically should be easy for these quarterbacks to stand out. It was kind of my takeaway because like all these pro days should be tailored to specifically, like you said, show off their highlights and stuff like that, make it easy for them. And as you said to me too, like you're not having a defense come at you. It's basically you just going out there, playing catch. Obviously, you're having guys run routes and stuff. And it's not like super easy out there, but you know what I mean. I found that kind of interesting that like right after you texted me that, I kind of heard that comment from him of a similar thing. So kudos to you guys for sharing the same thought process of how not like bullshit a pro day might be, but it may not be all it's cracked up to be, as you kind of say or alluding to.
They don't really change much for me. Evaluating a player from a non-scout's perspective.
Fair enough.
The Patriots met with Jane Daniels today, or they should have at this point after his pro day. Jeff Howe also said they would meet before his pro day, so I don't really know. Are they reviewing this Stamkos goal for offsides? That would be lovely if it got called back. Or else the Brents got a penalty. I looked away for a sec. Let me see this again.
Doesn't really look like it to me that. Well, this angle's not going to show you anything.
Yeah,
it's
like
where
come
the
on.
guy's feet
Like,
are.
what's
What
the point, guys? Should have looked at the fur. I should have looked.
Good camera angle there. Great.
Really good. Okay. Before or after the pro day, they will meet. They'll meet with Drake May at his pro day tomorrow. They did have a top 30 visit come out. A guy I like. Kingsley Suamataia.
Sure.
That's how it's pronounced. BYU offensive tackle, can play right, should play left in the NFL, ideally, especially if you're the Patriots.
I was just going to say you need a left, yeah.
Picking him out of a top 30 early on in the, we haven't, to my knowledge, I don't think they've scheduled any top 30s with any other offensive tackles. Tells me they like the guy. How can you not? Fantastic player, great size, about 6'5", like 330. Cousin of Penei Sewell, pretty excellent player. I would jump for joy if they took Kingsley at 34.
I wouldn't hate it. You need offensive line help, so go for it.
And his name is cool. Doesn't hurt. Suamataia. Very cool name. Great player. I haven't really seen many detractors of his either. Sounds like an awesome prospect to me. L'Jarius Sneed got traded to the Tennessee Titans for picks 221, 252, and a 2025 third. Really thought he would have fetched a 2024 third at least. But yeah. Let's see. Ooh, wait,
it's close.
Rewind that a little bit. Yeah, come on now. Sorry, I keep interrupting here with the
It's okay.
replay.
This is what I mean about replay, though. Like, let's figure this out. Come on.
Ooh, it's too fast. Slow it down a little bit.
That angle also sucks because Witherspoon's in the way to some degree. Like this is the best one they have right here. It's tough. It's close.
A tough one. But Snead signed an extension as well with Tennessee, 4 years by $76.4 million. That's 19.1 a year. No goal. Oh baby. Let's go. Huge. $55 million guaranteed. I think it's extremely reasonable for the man.
Absolutely.
He's a great player.
One of the best corners in the NFL for sure.
Yes, I think he easily could have gotten 2021. So around that number. Miles Bryant. I've not seen details on Miles Bryant, a guy we touched on a little bit last week, but he's on a 1-year deal to the Texans. Don't know how much familiarity he has with Casario, old friend, but maybe that has something to do with it. Details to be determined, but good for him.
Yeah, solid. Again, a solid veteran pickup for the Texans. I mean, you don't think of Miles Bryant as like a veteran, but a guy who's been around, has had some experiences, so nice little pickup for them.
Yeah, I agree. Good pickup. Good for him. Maybe better than himself type of deal. Maybe he didn't have multi-year options, but maybe this is better than himself type of thing to get a long-term deal. And Josh Reynolds signed with the Broncos today, 2x14 with the Denver Broncos, who traded Jerry Jeudy. Places him in a way. If Tim Patrick can stay healthy, maybe he shows what he showed a couple years ago, but he gets hurt really badly all the time.
Yes.
Horrible injury luck. Tripping penalty on Tanner Janot. No, I guess not.
Oh, maybe not.
Pretty weird.
To that, I was going to say, cool, they got a receiver. Now trade us Courtland Sutton.
Yeah, fine. Like, okay. Fourth round pick. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably won't even cost a 4th round pick. Like Amari Cooper went for a 6th. Let's be real. Would do that in a heartbeat for a 6th.
For sure.
Yeah, Josh Reynolds is a good player. We'll see who's at quarterback for the Denver Broncos because it might be one Jarrett
Stidham. Yep.
Old friend. I'm kind of rooting for Stidham if he starts. Like, it'd be cool. Like, nothing against
him. I'd like to see him get a run. Yeah, a little bit more extended than he's gotten in his career because he's shown glimpses here and there, but it's like a 2-3 game sample size. So it's like, all right, how much can you really take from that? Like, not a whole lot.
And I don't know if he can do much to draw the ire of Sean Payton like Russell Wilson did because he was asked about Russell Wilson, like, if he has any, like, something along the lines like, does it suck to like lose him or something? Do you regret losing him? And he said no. So
he said he's probably not wrong though. Like for more reasons than one. Now he's Pittsburgh's problem.
George Pickens is gonna hate Russell Wilson.
He absolutely. I mean, they are going to be crying, calling, whatever you want to say, for Justin Fields. Like 4 weeks into that season,
he is going to publicly cry for Justin Fields on social media.
Absolutely. He's gonna unfollow like Russ. He's gonna unfollow the Steelers. It's gonna be a whole ordeal. Like they did themselves a favor getting rid of Deontay Johnson because I feel like he would have been in the same boat. Like he would have seen the give ups on the field again, and the tantrums on the sideline. So good luck to the Steelers with that head case.
Yeah, shit. Well, Ryan, that was a lengthy episode.
Yes, it was.
Surely was. If you listen to the whole thing, you are an incredible individual. That's going to wrap it up. We're on a little bit of a different distribution thing. So if this comes out late, I apologize. It should be sorted out from our difficulties last week. I discussed with our buddy Ian. So we'll see. You can find us wherever you find your podcast, hopefully. You can follow us on Twitter at Mike_Cratty, at Ryan_Salvaggio, and the show at Salvaggio and Cratty Pod. You can find full press coverage on YouTube and Twitch, also the free app in the App Store. And we'll see you next week. Stay safe, stay healthy, be nice to people, all that good stuff. And we'll talk to you then. Peace out.